Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto comes back different after the intense training part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Kotohiwa was a small, but a popular town that was known for its rather delicious and large variety of tempura. Its population mainly consisted of low-level merchants, and tourists were rare due to the town being dangerously close to the border of Iwa and Taki, which was why the only people who visited the town belonged to those two countries. It was a place of good cuisine, if nothing else. In one of the tempura bars, one of the more popular ones called Jinsei no Michi, the Road of Life, on the bar stools, sat an ordinary-looking young man, slowly eating his chicken tempura, eyes closed as if truly enjoying his food. The bar was almost empty, the people leaving for their homes at 8 in the evening. Man, those people back there weren't kidding about the tempura in this town, he spoke softly to himself after swallowing his bite, smiling slightly at the plate. Looking up, he smiled at the bartender. Do you guys have a secret recipe? The bartender huffed out a chuckle, writing something down on a notepad, probably the day's count of money. Every restaurant has its secret, sir. We wouldn't be so popular if we didn't. The man nodded in agreement, putting another bite in his mouth. If only I could purchase the chef's, he whispered, slightly sad that his plate was finally empty. He's coming. The voice cackled in his ear, but the man's face gave nothing away of the fact that someone spoke to him in his ear. Twirling his chopsticks in his hand in a manner that indicated a high level of dexterity, he offhandedly spoke to himself, but loud enough to be heard by bartender. I wonder if the lights still burn after 9. The comment was nothing special in itself, except for the slight emphasis on burn. The bartender momentarily paused in his writing, but continued with a slight smile, hiding his confusion behind the voice he reserved for his customers. It depends on whether you would like to try our brand of tea. I would like that. The man slid a single coin towards the bartender, who picked it up and pocketed it. He nodded with a pleasant smile and made towards the chef's window. The man spoke again, stopping him for a moment. Please tell them to hurry up though. I have business to attend. Of course, sir. Instead of speaking to the chefs directly, the bartender entered the kitchen through the door, coming out 5 minutes later. Your tea is ready, sir. The man nodded his thanks and left some change on the bar, getting up. Straightening out his brown jacket, he cast an eye around under the pretense of loosening up his neck. Seeing no one paying attention to him, he walked towards his right and entered the door labeled staff only without hesitation. Walking through the corridor, the bartender joined him by his side. I must admit that you rather surprised me, sir. I was not expecting that comment. The young man smiled, his brown eyes meeting the perplexed ones of his companion. Well, consider me temporary. This is the only time you will meet me. The bartender nodded in agreement, motioning towards a door on the left. May I have your name, sir? A slight quirk on an eyebrow caused him to elaborate. It's just that my employer never informed me of a replacement, and I was under the impression that I was going to entertain him tonight. A slight grimace crossed the man's face. You employer's busy. Got sidetracked by a brothel. I'm sure you understand. A sigh of long suffering escaped the older man's mouth. He hasn't changed at all. The man put his hand on the doorknob and twisted it, clicking it open. Just before entering he paused, and leaned back to face the bartender. The name's Haruki, by the way. With that, he entered the room and locked the door behind him. Haruki stared at the small man as if trying to figure out a mystery. Sato Daiki was a small man, very small compared to Haruki's 5 feet 10 inches. And looking at him, Haruki could tell that there really was nothing impressive about the man, except for how unnoticeable he was. Maybe that was why he was part of the ring. I'm not going to waste any time on pleasantries, so let's skip to business, Haruki began with a no-nonsense expression on his face. First. Daiki followed him immediately. Leaf. Dry. Autumn. Red. Coat. Girls. Hot springs. Oil. Rare. Legendary. Perv. Haruki stared at the man, judging with his eyes for any sign of deception. He kept staring until Daiki began to squirm in his seat. Finally, he dropped his stare and sighed. Sorry, needed to confirm. Daiki waved his hand with a nervous smile. It's okay. I was informed that there was going to be a replacement tonight. Haruki sat down in front of him. Were you followed? No. Sure you weren't, Haruki muttered and cleared his throat. So, give me all you have. For the next 15 minutes, Haruki listened intently what Daiki had to say. Daiki seemed rather anxious at first, but he talked faster the more he talked. By the end of 15 minutes, Haruki leaned back in his chair, looking up contemplatively. Are you absolutely sure about all of this? Daiki bobbed his head. 90%. 4 of them in town. Haruki stood up abruptly. That's good enough for me and him. All right, you know what to do. Get out of here. Daiki got up so fast that the chair almost toppled backwards. Nodding a hasty goodbye, he skid out of the office like a rat who saw a cat. Haruki walked out of the office and straight towards the back exit, where the bar took out the trash from. Opening the door, he closed it and walked onto the main street. Looking left and right, one would think he was searching for someone at the first glance. His eyes narrowed as they passed a particular alley, but he let it go. He walked towards the part of the town that led to the forests. He didn't know what to make of the information he had received. On one hand, he felt impressed that the opposition had that much balls. On the other, it was a matter of a potential breach of security. If that breach ever happened, well, he didn't want to think about it. To think that the network is being monitored. He's going to have a coronary when he hears about this. Before he could enter the forest line, he stopped. His head drooped, a sigh of disappointment escaping his lips. I don't have a chance, do I? He heard the tap of someone landing behind him. 4 people, just as his scout had informed him. He turned around and came face to face with a group of 4 wearing traveling cloaks. He could see the weapons hidden on their person clearly, with one of them carrying his sword in his hand. A damn pitiful attempt of an intimidating glare worn by all of them, Haruki contemplated whether he should just ignore them and walk away. They didn't look like the kind of people who could even give him a warm-up, let alone a fight. That's right, punk, the one standing right in front of him spat in disgust. You really think we would let you get away with what you did to us in Rice Country? Haruki showed no signs of alarm on the outside, but was shaking his head inside. Gotta admire their persistence, if nothing else. So you found me? Damn right we did, and once we're done with you, we'll... How did you find me? The leader looked taken aback at the interruption, but then his scowl returned with a sneer. Once we're done with you, you'll think twice before attacking a casino owner. Haruki nodded to himself, his suspicions confirmed. Kaido it is. The leader snorted, and the next moment, he was surrounded on all 4 sides, facing the leader. The leader cracked his knuckles. Kaido-sama doesn't like it when somebody threatens him. We're here for some payback for him and ourselves. Haruki snorted, completely amused. If you think you really can? Before the man could comprehend the statement, his jaw met with a fist. A fist that broke the jaw completely, knocking him out in one go. The other 3 launched into action, the one behind Haruki grabbing a hold of his jacket in an attempt to restrain him. The asshole apparently forgot that the front chain was open. Which was why Haruki stepped forward easily, the sleeves turning inside out as he kicked the second straight in the chest. The force behind the kick sent the guy rocketing back, rolling until his head collided with a streetlight 10 feet away, knocking him out as well. Haruki spun on his right foot, pulling his arms out of the jacket sleeves, but still maintaining a hold on the clothing. He cartwheeled to his left, and landed neatly on his feet. He lifted and spun the jacket over the guy who was still holding it, and gave a sharp tug. The guy spun like a screwdriver in the air before slamming to the ground. Haruki knocked him out with a football kick to the head. The last guy, the one who had his sword out, swung wildly at him, aiming to cut his head off. Haruki crouched and spun beneath the attack, letting his opponent get behind him. Completing his spin, he threw out the jacket in his right arm, a sleeve wrapping around the man's leg. A harsh pull sent the guy in the air, spinning not unlike his partner, before he landed on his head. Haruki sighed, dusting his jacket off before draping it over his shoulder, continuing his walk into the woods. He removed the radio in his right ear, brisk walking towards his destination. The small camp that was set up by him and his companions came in sight, and he spoke out to the redhead that was sitting by the campfire, eating some roasted meat. You know, I still don't get it why they came all the way here just so they could have a crack at me. The redhead looked up at him and grinned. You did make an impression back in Rice. Honestly, just by the feel of his chakra I could tell that he would be getting even with you in some way. Haruki tossed his jacket to the ground and sat down on the log. I'm honestly kind of insulted that he sent just 4 men. Didn't he learn anything from our last meeting? Honestly, I don't know why he's still in the network. He's more trouble than his worth. That's not exactly true and you know it, Haruto shot back. Haruki sighed, whatever. Mission accomplished. Haruki reached beneath his shirt to pull off a piece of paper sticking to his chest. As soon as he pulled it off, smoke enveloped his form. When it finally dispersed, Haruto grinned at him. Feeling better? Loads. That seal is good for holding my henge, but when I do it for long it feels like I'm walking around in a blanket. Naruto shook his head as he burned off the seal tag with a small fire. He looked towards the redhead, who was smirking at him. What? How many ladies hit on you this time? Naruto sighed and leaned back on his hand. 3. Haruto chuckled and said in a false suffering tone. I feel for you, cousin. Being as handsome as we both are can be a curse sometimes. Then he broke into giggles. Man, it's fun watching you get uncomfortable with ladies, but it's even more fun watching Jiraiya steam about it. I can't believe this is what the perv calls an A-rank mission. It's like a scene straight out of a cliché detective movie. Where's the pervert anyways? In the brothel. Still? Hasn't he gotten the memo that he won't be getting laid anytime soon? Knowing how he always thinks with his dick, probably not. There was silence for a few moments, in which both of them stared at the dancing fire. Haruto spoke up once more. You could always give him some of your water clones disguised as prostitutes. No need for Labri. Naruto jabbed a finger at his cousin, speaking in almost a growl. You shut your goddamn trash mouth, Uzumaki. Right. After talking for 10 to 15 more minutes, Naruto decided to inform Tsunade about the completion of his mission. Rolling open his large storage scroll, he pressed his palm on a particular seal and pushed his chakra into it. In a small burst of smoke, came out one of his inventions that he simply called the pad. He found it rather perplexing that the ninja world had radio communications for missions, but they had invented nothing that could be just as convenient for long-distance communication. They relied on eagles for that. Yeah, he doesn't do that anymore. In fact, he hasn't been doing that for quite a while, if you count shadow clones and Hiraishin. It was his second long-term Fuinjutsu project he had done, the first being the Hiraishin. It had taken him 4 months of research with his shadow clone to come up with the seal. Then again, he didn't have any reference material like he had with the Hiraishin. He had to create the seal from scratch. He made full use of his shadow clones to get all the material he needed. If he ever needed something that he forgot to take from home, he would simply make a shadow clone, who would flash straight to his study back home and bring what he needed. Naruto had come up with an idea for a scroll that could be connected to another scroll on the other side of the nations. But Jiraiya pointed out the flaw in that idea, saying that connecting to only one scroll would be quite inefficient. So Naruto set to work about creating a seal that would connect any scroll that had the communications seal he had created. The one thing that Jiraiya helped him with most was pointing out the flaws, like the blatant lack of security in the first draft. Anyone could open a scroll and write into it, including an enemy. Which was why Naruto designed a basic, but clever, according to himself, security system. Integrating that system into his seal array without disturbing the space-time seals on the scrolls was a pain in the ass, but he managed it without Jiraiya's help. Not that the jerk was helping him in the first place. The scroll would have a chakra lock. The scroll won't open, as in the communication seals won't activate until the person the scroll belongs to puts in their chakra. If there is even the slightest irregularity in the chakra, the seals would deactivate completely and a security password would have to be written on the scroll to activate them again. Another flaw that Jiraiya was happy to point out was that the recipient of the message wouldn't know who the message was coming from, and introducing yourself every time you write was annoying, something which they both agreed upon. Looking back, creating the pad was most hair-pulling project he had ever done. There were only so many things he could fit into the pad before the seal array crashed in on itself. The identity matrix was the last addition to the scroll that he made. It basically gave an identity to the scroll in the form of the user's name. So every time he sent a message to Tsunade, he wouldn't have to introduce himself because his name would automatically appear on her scroll. All he had to do to contact her was write her name on the scroll, and they would be connected. It was an invention that he was proud of, and he was sure that his dad was too, as a fellow seal master. The comm scroll, as it was initially called, was a field success. It was handy, easy to use, secure, and nothing that one would be interested enough to steal, considering it was just an ordinary scroll. As happy and proud as Tsunade was about his invention, she surprisingly came up with a very practical flaw in the comm scroll. It was a paper scroll and as such, needed a flat surface to write. While they could manage writing while keeping the scroll on hand, what mattered to Naruto was that there was room for improvement. Over the course of 3 weeks, he worked to replace the scroll with something better. The pad at first appearance was a cylindrical, metallic black stick about 3/4 the length of his forearm. There was another small, cylindrical stick slightly smaller that was parallelly attached to its side that when pulled, Paper was stretched out like a napkin dispenser that hardened upon straightening. He could easily write on it with anything, and whatever was written, it was transmitted to the receiver in real time. You never did tell me how you came up with this. Not even the clan had ever came up with this from what my parents had told me, Naruto remarked as he watched the pad in Naruto's hands with open curiosity and amazement. Naruto smirked as he finished writing a summary of his mission. I'll let you look at my notes sometime. He put the cap on his ink pen and pocketed it. As the ink disappeared on his scroll, he snapped and rolled the paper back inside and put the pad back in his scroll. Naruto turned to his cousin and gave him a small smile. So, when did Jiraiya say he was returning? Uzumaki Haruto was Naruto's distant cousin in the Uzumaki clan. When the second year of his training had started, Naruto had questioned Jiraiya on whether the Uzumaki clan was truly wiped out or were there any survivors. Well, there are remnants, of course. Some of the Uzumaki managed to escape before it was destroyed, and they might be spread across the nations, was what he was told. Naruto had longed to meet someone from his mother's clan, one of the strongest standing with the Uchiha and the Senju. It was only at the end of his second year of his training trip that he and Jiraiya found one, by pure chance. Haruto was Naruto's many times removed cousin whose mother escaped the destruction of Uzushiogakure no Sato. Only she didn't come to Konoha like Naruto's mother did. She apparently traveled to hot water country where she kept a low profile to avoid catching the attention of Hunter Nin. Jiraiya and Naruto found Haruto when they were in the hot water country for an A-rank mission. A missing Nin was unknowingly targeting Jiraiya's spies for money, and they were there to take care of that. They walked right into an ambush. Of course, against Naruto and Jiraiya, an ambush was next to useless. Just as they were about to turn the tables, all the ninjas in the clearing, even the hidden ones, were pierced in the chest by blood-red chains that came out of nowhere. Naruto had read about the Uzumaki chakra chains from his mother's journals, and recognized them right away. Flashback. Jiraiya and Naruto remained standing where they were, bodies tensed even though the shinobi that ambushed them dropped like flies. Naruto's eyes flickered towards his right, having sensed where their savior was. To think we would run into one, Jiraiya chuckled as he relaxed. Naruto returned with a smirk. Guess I gotta count myself lucky, don't I? They were still surrounded by the chains, whose spear tips turned towards them as they hovered around, poised to attack any moment. Naruto guessed that they must be dealing with an adult Uzumaki with special chakra, because judging from the pointed tips, this was the mastered version of the adamantine chains, the same one that his mother possessed. We won't attack you, Naruto spoke loud and clear, hoping to meet up with his fellow Uzumaki. Can you reveal yourself? My name is Uzumaki Naruto. The chains lingered in the air, but Naruto's and Jiraiya's eyes managed to spot momentary freeze in them, before they started moving again. Suddenly, they retracted sharply, as if being sucked away into a vacuum. Naruto and Jiraiya turned towards their right when they heard hurried footsteps approaching. Naruto's heart started beating faster as a mop of spiky red hair came into sight, but he blinked dumbly when a teenager emerged from the forest, his face full of hope. He was of similar age to Naruto, and even though he wore civilian clothes, the muscle on his arms was a clear indicator that he was fit. He was slightly shorter than Naruto, and had an angular face with purple eyes. His hair was long, reaching down to his upper back, but not tied. Two spiky tails hung on the front of his shoulders. Naruto was a bit taken aback when the teenager lunged forward and grabbed his shoulders, shaking him a bit in hysteria. Are you really an Uzumaki? Yeah, even though I don't have red hair, Naruto answered, gently prying the hands away. He froze, though, when the redhead buried his face in his chest and started sobbing. His arms clung around him in desperation, as if he had found something long lost. Oh, thank God, thank God. Naruto slowly wrapped his own arms around the teenager, wearing a confused expression on his face. Jiraiya was understanding as he moved to give them some space. Oh, thank God, I never thought I would ever find another Uzumaki. It tugged at Naruto's heart at just how broken his voice. Trying to distract the guy from what was disturbing him so much, he fished for a name. So, what name do you go by? The teenager lifted his head and wiped his tears with his sleeve, but Naruto could tell the smile on his face was of genuine happiness. My name is Uzumaki Haruto, and it's a pleasure to meet you. Flashback end. Suffice to say, their first meeting was interesting. Naruto had been thrilled to discover a part of his family, as distant as it was. He learned that Haruto was usually a calm person, but easily got excited about things that interested him. He had been living alone in hot water country ever since his parents were killed by hunters when he was the only reason he got spared was because the Nin weren't aware of his existence, and he was very good at hiding, despite his powerful chakra reserves. That, and he killed the hunters in a fit of rage. Ever since then, Naruto avoided attention if he could, working daily to earn his bread. Jiraiya was impressed that even though Naruto did not become a ninja, he had mastered the use of his chakra chains at such a young age, without anyone to guide him. The kid had a lot of potential. It didn't take much to convince him to go with them, since he was already considering it. Naruto had a feeling that Naruto would be glued to him for some time. He wouldn't want him to get out of his sight. As the trip progressed, Jiraiya trained both of them. He was already unleashing hell upon Naruto, who couldn't help but feel pity for his cousin who hadn't worked this hard ever in his life. But as the months passed, Naruto kept on improving. And as he improved, his self-esteem did as well. Naruto prevented Jiraiya from corrupting Naruto with his perverted ways, but the latter still developed a penchant for making dirty jokes every now and then. That, and he also became a bit of a smartass. Naruto had a feeling that Naruto was a natural at that. Naruto shrugged, maybe when he's had his fill. The wind blew a bit strongly, threatening to douse the fire, but thankfully it sustained. Naruto's nose picked up a familiar smell heading towards their way. Guess he finally had his fill of the night, Naruto dryly commented. He was right, when 5 minutes later, a large outline of a figure came into view, striding into their camp. So how was the mission, brat? Naruto chucked a rock at his head, which Jiraiya easily caught in his hand. You call that an A rank? What? Gathering information from my spies is at least mid-A rank, kid. You should be thankful I let you go in my place. Jiraiya puffed up his chest, taking a seat before Naruto, Naruto making way for him to sit. Naruto scoffed. Operating so close to Iwa's borders, I thought they would be a bit more vigilant about who is in town. So you managed to avoid the ninjas? Naruto frowned. I thought we established before that my acting was acceptable, Naruto said with a sarcastic air, enough for me to dodge my way out of those situations. Jiraiya didn't even bat an eye at his answer. Acceptable isn't good enough for me, kid. Naruto narrowed his eyes, but didn't say anything further. Jiraiya always was like this, his standards were very high, and Naruto gave his best to meet them. But no matter how hard he tried, it was never enough for the Sannin. He never got anything above acceptable. Just wait, you perverted ape. I will make you eat that word tomorrow. Naruto got up from the log, stretching his arms up. Alright, I'm going to sleep. Make sure you're in top form for tomorrow, Ero-sennin. I want to beat you at your best. Jiraiya snorted, waving the comment away. You're 100 years too young for that. Once he was sure Naruto had gone to sleep, Naruto leaned towards Jiraiya. Jiraiya-sama, must you be so harsh on him? He's performed the mission rather excellently. Jiraiya was silent for a long moment before speaking. It's not about the mission, Naruto. As his teacher, I have to make sure he's always motivated to get stronger and better. Even if that means I have to downgrade his performance. But Naruto has improved, hasn't he? Naruto asked pointedly. Jiraiya let out a soft chuckle. By leaps and bounds. Every time I test him, he's better than before. Kid's got potential just like his old man, perhaps even more. I suspect he's been sneaking in extra training behind my back. How so? Jiraiya leaned back, staring at the stars and smiling nostalgically. Naruto has built upon his father's legacy in a way I would never have even dreamed about. I never expected him to get this far in just 3 years. Did you know that he altered the Nidaime Hokage's shadow clone jutsu in a way that all the clones were linked together by mind? Naruto's eyebrows shot up at that fact. You mean that jutsu wasn't like that when he taught it to me? Jiraiya shook his head. Nah, not at all. Naruto merely wanted to see whether it was possible or not. It wasn't even one of his main goals to achieve on this trip. There's so much that he's achieved during this trip that I'm nothing but proud of him. I've run out of words to describe how proud I am of him. Naruto contemplated on what he had heard. How good would you say he is right now? Jiraiya gave a tiny frown at the question and pursed his lips. After a moment, he smirked, and Naruto detected pride in his voice. Good enough to have a bounty on his head. How much? Jiraiya chuckled and exclaimed in his boisterous voice. Come on, Naruto, don't ask everything today. Save some for later. I gotta sleep now, be ready for tomorrow. Naruto bit his lip. There was so much he wanted to ask Jiraiya, but one more question wouldn't hurt, would it? What is tomorrow anyways? Jiraiya turned back to him, and the light from the fire cast a glow on his face. His eyes were shining with such intensity that Naruto had to suppress a shiver. A fight. The final battle between him and me, one that will mark the end of his training. Jiraiya then glanced at his fist, clenching it tightly. To be honest, I'm not sure whether I can win tomorrow or not. Naruto didn't know what to say to that. The sun's rays hit Naruto's eyes at 6:30 in the morning, causing them to flutter open. He didn't get up immediately, but rather thought about what was going to happen today. Today was going to be the end of his training. The fight he would fight today would undoubtedly be one of the toughest battles he would ever fight. He knew well what Jiraiya was capable of, since the man had been training himself as well, over the course of the trip. Jiraiya had proved himself as one of the most powerful shinobi in the world. He had pushed him hard enough that sometimes he felt his will to get up crack. It was only due to Kurama shouting at him and Jiraiya taunting his strength that he had got back up. Every time he got up, Jiraiya sent him back down harder than before. Every time Naruto felt he had improved, Jiraiya was quick to knock off that feeling. He had learned much from his godfather, but never once received a genuine compliment. The man was completely different from the goof that Naruto was used to talking to. Naruto was torn on what to feel. On one hand, he felt frustrated that never once he received acknowledgement of his efforts. On the other, he was glad that Jiraiya had made true on his promise. His promise of making Naruto one of the most dangerous men on the planet. Naruto had gave it his all in training, and then some. He had pushed himself to his absolute limits, even after Jiraiya had performed the body enhancement ritual on him a year ago, using his father's seals. He was able to see his improvement though. Even if Jiraiya didn't say anything every time he and Jiraiya sparred, it took the other man longer to put him down. Every time Jiraiya gave him a new technique, Naruto mastered it to the point that he could do it with only 1 or 2 hand seals. His body had gotten stronger every time it healed from damage, thanks to Kurama and the seal enhancements. His muscles had hardened to the point that a civilian would break his hand if he punched him, and Naruto wouldn't even feel a thing. Naruto was sure that he had lived in hell for 3 years. He wondered if his father had been trained this hard as well. He sat up, taking a deep breath. The cold air brushed across his bare torso, but he paid it no mind. Getting up, he attended to his morning rituals. Today was the last day of his training. He would make it count. Tomorrow, he would be home. He wanted to see his wife. After an hour, the 3 of them had packed up their camping supplies and were munching on some breakfast. Naruto finished off 8 boiled eggs, while Naruto munched on some fruit mix he had made for himself. Jiraiya, like him, ate 6 boiled eggs for breakfast. Once they were finished, Jiraiya told him where they needed to go. You remember the grounds that I asked you to mark 4 months ago? Naruto nodded, having understood where to go. He touched his index finger to the ground, expanding his senses to feel for the kunai he left on the grounds. Within seconds he had the location, and he motioned for them to hold on. Once they had, they were gone in a colorless flash. Appearing instantly on the grounds, the others let go, shaking off the slight disorientation. Naruto looked around, seeing nothing had changed. They were on a rocky hill, one of the highest among all the hills in the area. Jiraiya had brought them here 4 months ago, mainly because it was quite a secluded area and plenty of space to train. The view was great as well, as the hill overlooked a small village, the greenery around giving lots of fresh air to breath. All in all, Naruto thought this was a great picnic spot. Training too. Jiraiya took off his bags and put them down. He turned around and smirked at his blonde student. All right, today is your final evaluation, Naruto. I'm gonna be testing you to your limits, both physical and mental. Today, I won't be holding back on you. Naruto's heart started beating faster at his teacher's words. The blood was rushing through his veins, excitement growing with each word. The prospect of a battle with a strong opponent he could barely keep from grinning like a madman. Do I get to drop my gravity seals for the test? Yes. I don't want you weighed down by anything. You'll get crushed in no time. The nonchalance and the confidence ticked Naruto off a bit, but he controlled himself. He had gained an ironclad control over his emotions over the course of 3 years. The training wasn't something he liked, but it was necessary. Kurama wouldn't accept anything less. Naruto nodded. All right. How are we doing this? Jiraiya folded his arms. I need 2 hours to prepare for the test. You use the time to do the same, but do it away from here. Naruto tilted his head. What am I going to wear for the test? Jiraiya rummaged in his pack and pulled out a scroll. Tossing it to Naruto, he informed him. I had ordered a vest of your size from the village. Wear it over anything you want. And no peeking. With that, Jiraiya shooed him away. Naruto sighed but complied, walking down the hill with Naruto. Naruto was bouncing a rock in his hands, a thoughtful expression on his face. I wonder what he will cook up. Yeah, me too. Do you think you can win? Naruto scoffed. Against him? I don't think so. Naruto frowned in concern, perceiving his statement as a lack of confidence. You really should. I know so. Naruto stopped short at that, the rock falling from his grasp. The fire that burned in Naruto's eyes told him that Naruto had every intention crushing Jiraiya's test. Naruto continued, unaware of Naruto's thoughts. He has a geographical advantage over me, that much is obvious. But he'll need a lot more than that to put me down. Plus, I'll make my own field advantage. Naruto decided not to mention that Jiraiya already had doubts of winning against his pupil. Naruto was fully fired up for the test. Naruto. Both of them turned back towards the hilltop, where Jiraiya was waving at them, calling Naruto to him. Naruto started walking back to Jiraiya, waving a thumbs up at his cousin. All the best, Naruto. Naruto nodded with a smile. Thanks, Kaus. Naruto watched the redhead hike back to Jiraiya, and turned away, walking down. He needed to make his own preparations. For the next 2 hours, Jiraiya and Naruto busied themselves. Jiraiya prepared his field, while Naruto stocked up his hip pouches from his supplies. Both of them were dead serious while making their preparations, knowing that neither of them would hold back. With 5 minutes to 2 hours, Naruto finished making his preparations. He glanced at the hilltop, which Jiraiya was no doubt prepping up with various traps. In fact, he was willing to bet that Jiraiya had booby-trapped the whole hill, and removed his Hiraishin mark from any and everything that had it. While no one except him could remove the mark, there were ways to disable any use of space-time jutsu. Jiraiya had been studying hard to overcome his weak spots in Fuin jutsu. Damn it, I knew he was looking at my notes, he muttered, no longer sensing the mark that was on Jiraiya or Naruto. If he couldn't sense it on Naruto, that meant Naruto was a part of the test. But how? He didn't ponder much long, changing into his Jonin uniform for the first time in 2.5 years. He wore a dark blue t-shirt with long sleeves, the neck going halfway up his throat. He wore ANBU pants of the same color that went down till it covered his calf muscles, leaving the rest of the leg bare. He stripped 2 orange bands on his forearm over the T, one at the wrist and the other just beneath the elbow on both arms. Taking the roll of black bandages, he wrapped them up over the exposed part of his legs, along with some clothing, and put on his black shinobi sandals, just like the ANBU. He took the green Jonin vest and put it over, strapping it in place. He took his hip pouches, stocked to the full, and tied them around his hips. Last but not the least, Naruto tied his headband, automatically smiling when he did it. It felt good to put on his hataite again. Not having worn it in months, he forgot the feeling that he still belonged to a place. He ran a hand over his newly cut hair, sighing as he did. He liked the hairstyle he had back when he was in the village. Back then he felt that he was closer to his father with that hairstyle, but had to cut it because Jiraiya ordered him to. He said it brought too much attention to them. Not only that, but he said that if he wanted to make a name for himself, then he had to step out of the shadow of his father. By retaining that sort of hair, Naruto was unknowingly pushing himself further into it. Grudgingly, Naruto had conceded the point, because he knew it would get annoying if he was only known because of his father. Now, he sported a very normal haircut. He had gotten rid of the bangs, and kept his hair at a length that came to his eyebrows. It was as spiky and untamable as ever, but he kept most of it out of his eyesight. Some of it dropped down to the right of his forehead, but didn't obstruct his eyesight. He clenched his fists and rolled them, cracking his wrists. He rolled his head to crack his neck, rolled his shoulders, jumped a bit, did a few stretches to warm himself up. He knew Jiraiya would be coming any second now, so he released the gravity seal that kept him at 10 times the Earth's gravity. He grinned joyfully as he did a few jumps. He felt as light as a feather. Just as he finished warming up, Jiraiya appeared before him in a burst of smoke. There was nothing different about him, but Naruto knew better. This was merely a shadow clone sent to inform him of the test. Jiraiya had probably prepared to level down the entire hill. Maybe that was an exaggeration, but it was better to prepare for the worst. Naruto was prepared. Jiraiya's expression was stony, not revealing anything. Naruto knew better than to search for any sign of a tell. Jiraiya's decades of experience as a spy had trained him to control himself in the worst of the situations. The waterfall training was brutal, even for him, but it had paid off. You ready? Naruto took a deep breath and calmed his excited heart down. Staring back at him, he returned. Lay it on me. You have 3 objectives that you need to achieve in order to pass this test. I'll only tell you the secondary and tertiary objectives, the primary is yours to discover. Don't worry, you'll know it when you see it. Naruto nodded in understanding. Jiraiya continued, barely a hint of a smirk on his face. I've hidden a scroll of information. You have to find it in order to complete the second objective. Naruto nodded again. He already knew this was going to be tough, since Jiraiya would undoubtedly have used Fuinjutsu to enhance his traps. Breaking Fuinjutsu arrays was something that Naruto always looked forward to. Considering that Jiraiya's specialization was in sealing various types of objects and security, he had a challenge on his hands. The third objective: to defeat me. By defeat, it doesn't mean that you have to land a critical strike on me. It's more than that. Naruto frowned. What could be more than landing a finishing blow to your opponent? Jiraiya held up 5 fingers. You'll have to land not 1, but 5 critical strikes on me. Naruto gave the man a flat look, causing Jiraiya to nervously chuckle. Ah ha ha ha, I meant, not actually land those strikes. That would kill me. You mean just give an impression that I could have killed you with that particular strike? Naruto clarified, seeing Jiraiya having some trouble framing his sentence. Jiraiya snapped his fingers. Yes. Just like that. Naruto folded his arms across his chest. I'm sorry, but why 5 strikes? I could simply imitate a strike that cuts off your head. Don't get too cocky, kid. It's to test your improvisation against an enemy who is as persistent as a cockroach and as genius as you are. Once you land a strike, you must release me from whatever trap I'm in. The fight will then continue after a 10-second rest. You won't use the Rasengan, or any of the variations as well, Jiraiya revealed. An unusual test, but one that Naruto would relish. He was dying to test out some of his new moves that he had been developing in secret. I have told you everything you need to know. Any questions from your side? He received a fist to the stomach for an answer that instantly popped him. No, we can begin. Jiraiya blinked as he received the memories of his shadow clone, and he rubbed his stomach as the phantom pain hit him. He scowled, humph. Disrespectful brat. He then gave an anticipatory smile as he stood with his arms folded, his gaze eyeing the edge which he expected Naruto to climb from. Let's see how you go about this Raijin no T. Naruto spread out his senses, smirking when he felt 15 signatures standing on the circumference of the hilltop. Jiraiya knew exactly what Naruto was thinking, and had stationed his shadow clones such that they will intercept him from whatever path he comes from. Relying on shadow clones was never Jiraiya's style, but it went to show how high he thought of Naruto's skills if he was willing to copy Naruto's style. Holding up a half-ram, 30 shadow clones soundlessly came into existence. There was no need to speak, since they were all connected by mind. Naruto took the path that was on the eastern side with some of his clones, leaving a shadow clone to take the front. He began the climb without wasting time, running up and relying on his danger sense to alert him. His eyes were constantly darting everywhere, checking for any sign of traps. He gave no sign of surprise when he found that 6 of his clones were taken out before halfway point. It only proved that his suspicions were correct. The entire hill was booby-trapped. The hair on the back of his neck stood up in alarm, causing him to halt. Bending down, he carefully felt for the tiniest bit of chakra. He gave a sigh of relief. He had stopped right before he stepped on a pressure-sensitive explosive tag, essentially a mine. Right, he can afford to cause a landslide on any side except the one facing the village, he muttered, taking a step back. His statement caused an epiphany. He chuckled, looking towards the hilltop. You smart son of a bitch. Because the south side had the village at the base, the strongest of the traps would have to be concentrated elsewhere. It clashed with the ideology that the front path was the fastest, most expected one and therefore, the most dangerous. Jiraiya had laid the real trap within a false trap, and Naruto completely fell for it. He sent out a message to the clone on the front. Clone on the front, have you encountered any traps? It never failed to give him a kick that he essentially had telepathy, even if it was among his own clones. Negative Prime. How far along are you? I'm beyond halfway point, hiding from the Jiraiya ahead of me behind a rock. A hill mostly made of rocks didn't have much places for convenient trap placing, except for explosives. It made Naruto wonder just how many mines did Jiraiya place around the body of the hill. Well done. Summon me. Roger that. Only a moment later he found himself beside the clone on the front. He dismissed everyone else. He looked at his clone and nodded, silently telling him to stay there. Jiraiya wasn't a censor like him, so its stealth worked in his favor. Coming out from behind the rock, he hurled a kunai wrapped with a level 3 explosive tag 5 feet beneath the Jiraiya standing ahead of him. The blast that happened when it struck was enough to shatter the rock in a 2-meter radius, as well as blowing away the clone. Naruto took his chance and sprinted to the top, taking a jump in the end. When he landed, he let his eyes roam and take in the scene. The Hilltop 15 Jiraiya, not counting the clone he blew up, stared at him. His eyebrows rose slightly when he took in the scene behind the Jiraiya standing in front of him, several meters away. So Naruto is the primary objective. Jiraiya took him as a hostage, which makes him top priority. Having figured out his primary objective, he stood up to his feet, brushing off some dust of his legs. Didn't take you for the one to copy Kakashi, he drawled, appearing at ease. Kakashi copies others, but you copied Kakashi's style of copying the others, which makes you a double copier, Erosenin. Jiraiya smirked but didn't say anything. Bastard was probably talking to his clones via the mind link, because the remaining clones except for 2 came to stand before him in a line, several meters away. The remaining 2 took guard beside Naruto. Naruto took careful notice of their eyes which darted to the ground while walking to group up. It meant that there were traps here too, likely mines. Naruto wondered if he should blow the clones away by deliberately activating the traps, but he had to follow the rules of a hostage situation. Hostage takes priority. Go around the back, take out the 2 guarding Naruto and attempt to strike at the one who is speaking. Roger that, Prime. What are your demands? Jiraiya said nothing at first, but when he replied, it wasn't what Naruto wanted. You arrived here faster than I expected. Naruto repeated his question, getting the answer this time. Rescue your cousin, Naruto. Naruto spread his arms. No threats? Nothing that will happen to him if I take a step towards you? Jiraiya shook his head with a smile. I'm simply the resistance. Naruto smirked, not believing his words for a second. If there was a hostage, the opponent will always take advantage of him to gain an edge over you. Jiraiya may be telling the truth, or he may not, but Naruto had to assume the worst. That, and he was buying some time for his clone to get into position. In position, Prime. Do it. He had to give credit to his clones. Even though they weren't as strong as him, they were almost as fast as him. He had improved his strength a lot, which is why when he threw his kunai, they were faster than one could react. They could at most dodge, but only the best could catch them. The kunai went clean through the heads of the clones, dispelling them. Jiraiya's reaction was damn impressive, because he turned around and threw a kunai at the clone, catching the one thrown at him an inch from his eye. The kunai was slower than what Naruto threw, but it managed to catch the clone in the chest, dispelling him. Naruto was even faster than Jiraiya, because he reacted the instant Jiraiya turned his back to him. 12 clones popped into existence, each of them lunging for the remaining clones while Naruto went after the apparent original. A kunai in his hand, Naruto was ready to deliver a superficial cut to the neck, to mark his first critical strike. But Jiraiya was a veteran, and the teacher of the Yellow Flash, currently being Naruto's teacher for 3 years. He knew about Naruto just as much as Naruto knew about him, and he knew exactly how he would react stealing the chance to land a strike. Which is why he spun low on his heel to throw the kunai. Naruto's kunai cut a few of Jiraiya's hair, the blonde passing inches over his head. He smirked, proud of how fast his student had gotten. If it were anyone else this tactic would have worked. It was only because he knew Naruto's fighting style that he was able to dodge. Naruto far outstripped him in the speed department now, just like his father did at his age. Naruto flipped in the air to land on his feet, his back facing Naruto. He stole a glance around the field, seeing the status of his clones. 3 of his clones had managed to dispel the Jiraiyas they had marked and were assisting the others. Any clone that has taken care of their Jiraiya, free Naruto. In response, one of the clones immediately left its partner to obey the order of the original. The clone that was left behind stumbled momentarily, being taken out due to getting distracted. The Jiraiya then moved to assist the others, moving to attack a clone from its back while it was still fighting another Jiraiya. The clone cursed and caught an elbow going for his jaw, kneeing the clone in the chest out of existence. He used the same leg to back kick the clone behind in the gut, dispelling him. Naruto himself was busy engaging Jiraiya in a bout of taijutsu when the man tried to go back to Naruto. Avoiding a slash at his thigh, Naruto delivered a powerful 2-punch combo to Jiraiya's face, mindful to hold back his enhanced strength, stunning him for a moment. Jiraiya was open for that small moment, so Naruto took his chance to land another attack. Jumping a bit, he landed a devastating right spinning hook kick to the head. Continuing his momentum, he dropped down and swept the legs from beneath his master. Jiraiya went down, but recovered quickly. But the job was done. Naruto's clone had taken a hold of Haruto and flashed them to a previously marked point. Primary objective complete. Prime. The secondary objective is right where Haruto was. I'm marking the spot. Naruto grinned for a moment, before refocusing back. A Hiraishin kunai slipped into his hand, and he began fighting in earnest. He used his right arm to block, left hand to attack, a strategy that was meant to move the opponent into a position that could not be blocked. Jiraiya knew how to move around it, but Naruto improvised, deliberately loosening his hold on his kunai. Jiraiya saw the opportunity and knocked it out of his hand when Naruto went for a face slash, spinning it in the air. Not hesitating at the loss of his weapon for even a moment, Naruto easily avoided the swipe to his legs and aimed a jump punch at Jiraiya, who left his side open to get a slash at Naruto's ribs. Not a superficial one like the one Naruto was aiming for, but a real one that would injure. But even Jiraiya hadn't seen it coming that Naruto had set him up. His kunai passed empty air as Naruto flashed behind him. The right fist continued its path, this time to the back of Jiraiya's head. He felt a savage satisfaction when the punch connected, sending the larger man rolling across the ground. Just for insurance, Naruto threw a kunai tied with an explosive tag 3 feet from Jiraiya. The blast knocked the bigger man back a bit more. Collecting his kunai, Naruto flashed to where his clone had marked. Jiraiya would need a few moments to recover from that one. His eyes flashed over the ceiling formulae on the tag stuck to the small box that was in front of him, eyes narrowing in slight anger as he recognized the encryption matrices. He cursed as he took out his ink pen and sealing paper. Fucking pervert stealing my notes, damn it. It was true, since Naruto had been working on sealing encryption to try and make the messaging scrolls more secure. He had prepared his own brand of encryption, and what he was seeing right now was different, but it was the little parts that got to him. Naruto knew his work when he saw it. He could crack this seal, but he would need time. At least 3.5 minutes, considering each level of encryption was designed to work with the other. To confuse and crack this system, care had to be taken. Otherwise the system would lock in on itself or worse, self-destruct along with the message. Naruto began writing swift, but careful strokes. He planned to confuse the first 2 levels and sever the connection with the third, so he can break 2 of them at the same time without needing worry about the third. Just as he finished the first part of breaking the seal, the hair on the back of his neck stood up in alarm. Jiraiya was up, and was moving towards him. Naruto slammed his hands into the tiger seal, and the tags that he had placed around the hill in a square formation activated. Jiraiya, who was making his way towards Naruto, throwing several kunai ahead of him in case he didn't reach in time to disrupt Naruto's progress, was slammed down on the ground. Hard. The kunai fell out of their path as well, falling to the ground and making a slight dent. Naruto smirked as he watched Jiraiya's face kiss the ground. He would be lucky if his nose was still in one piece. He had made sure that the gravity would be 15 times that of the Earth, more than even his seals. The only reason he wasn't feeling the effects was because of the counter seal he placed on himself. Turning back, he refocused on breaking the seal on the box. Jiraiya grunted in slight pain as he doubled his efforts to move any part of his body. With so much gravity, his body was crushing in on itself. It would be different if he trained with gravity seals as well, but his body wasn't used to so much. He was barely able to move his eyebrows, much less his face. Reinforcing his body with chakra was all he could do to not get turned into mush. He had to give Naruto credit though. Placing a barrier around an entire hill was not difficult, but the chakra cost for the activation for such a large area was high. But his pupil had more than enough chakra, his reserves having grown larger than ever in the last 3 years due to intense training with Kyuubi and himself. Naruto played to his strengths. Naruto finished designing the counter seal for the 3rd level. Placing the one for the first 2 on the box, he activated it, then placed the one for the 3rd level on top of it. The seals glowed as the levels were decrypted, and within seconds, the lock of the box opened. Naruto quickly took the scroll from inside and smirked in victory. Second objective complete. Standing up and turning to where Jiraiya was, he flash-stepped towards him. Bending down, he nicked a small cut on the man's jugular, just opening a small scratch. "Strike one, old man," he taunted, jumping back and deactivating the gravity barrier. Jiraiya sighed in relief when he felt the weight disappear. Jumping up to his feet, his hand came up to grip Naruto's wrist when the blonde attempted to land a palm strike on him. 10 seconds aren't over yet, kid, he dryly said. Naruto grinned. No, they're not. The next thing he knew, they were in the middle of a forest, far away from the hill that they were on. Jiraiya tried to kick Naruto away, but the latter had already released him and jumped back, laughing slightly. Where are we? Naruto smirked. Around. With that, he attacked, engaging them in a furious bout of taijutsu. Naruto had refined his taijutsu a lot in 3 years, adding new moves to his repertoire. His punches, hooks, jabs, kicks, nerve strikes were more refined than ever, and had damaging power behind them. Jiraiya's large figure meant he had a better reach, but Naruto had more speed and better reflexes on his side. Ducking under a punch to his head, he raised his right hand to block a chop from the same hand. He stepped a little to the left, his left hand diverting Jiraiya's right side kick away from his stomach. He then slammed his left elbow into Jiraiya's exposed ribs, causing him to let out a grunt of pain. He kicked away Jiraiya's right leg, which came to his head in a spinning kick. Jiraiya spun on his leg, aiming for a knee to Naruto's gut, which was blocked by Naruto's own. A left fist flew towards his head, which Naruto caught with a grunt. Naruto caught the right one before his stomach. Without wasting a moment, he switched to offense. He pulled Jiraiya close, kneeing him in the gut. All the air left Jiraiya in one huff, but Naruto was relentless in his attacks. Releasing his hands, Naruto landed a flurry of quick punches to the man's torso, ending with a punch to the face. Naruto could have easily put his mark on his master, making it easy to use Hiraishin on him. But the thought of being a one-trick pony was rather unappealing. His dad might have spammed the technique, but Naruto did not want to make it a crutch for himself. Naruto's strikes had power, slowly withering away Jiraiya's defense. He ended with side kick back kick combo to the chest, throwing back Jiraiya so hard that the bark of the tree he slammed into cracked a little, and he coughed up some blood. He stumbled forward, shaking his head to clear it, and was able to catch the kunai to his chest with eyes closed. He realized it only when he opened his eyes, that the kunai was a tri-pronged one. Naruto flashed behind Jiraiya, punching him to the head to his right, then flashed again to a kunai buried a few feet away. He kicked Jiraiya in the chest after appearing before him. Snatching the kunai from the ground, Naruto jumped up, flipping in the air to increase the speed behind his slash. The slash was actually supposed to cut off the enemy's head, or open a bloody waterfall, but Naruto made sure that only a superficial cut was made to Jiraiya's neck. Hiraishin, Enki Kogiki, Flying Thunder God, Circular Slash. That's the second strike. Jiraiya got up and took a deep breath, exhaling with eyes closed. Turning around, he smirked despite the pain he was in. Naruto's taijutsu was dirty, brutal, and never failed to cause pain. Don't think the next 3 will be this easy. I'm not, but if you don't step it up, you're going to lose, Naruto scoffed back. Jiraiya chose not to speak anymore and jumped back, flying through seals. Katon, Ryuka no Jutsu. Fire style, Dragon Fire Jutsu. A large dragon of fire, as large as him, came roaring towards him, but Naruto stood his ground. His hands came together in the bird seal, and chakra molded in his stomach at a rapid pace. Suetun, Suijin Hiki. Water style, Water Encampment Wall. Naruto spit a large amount of water which formed into a spinning, protective wall before him. He continued spitting water until Jiraiya stopped spitting fire. Jiraiya wouldn't risk any chakra-intensive jutsu against him, because Naruto could fire S-rank jutsu for hours before he began to get tired. Jiraiya threw a cluster of shuriken at him, which were easily avoided by Naruto. He was in Naruto's face in a second, following up his attack, having taken a guess as to how Naruto will dodge. Due to his position, Naruto was unable to dodge and therefore, the punch hit him straight in the jaw, sending him flying. Naruto recovered quickly though, and flashed to the kunai that Jiraiya dropped before the second strike. A punch like that would have cracked anyone's jaw, but Naruto was tougher than the average shinobi. He flashed through 2 seals, molding chakra again. Suetun, Tenkyu, Water Style, Heavenly Weeping. Sharp, thin needles of water came out of his mouth, aiming for Jiraiya. Jiraiya jumped from his position, avoiding most of them. But one of them buried right into his shoulder, causing him to give a sharp cry of hid behind a tree, breathing deeply to brace himself. He pulled the needle out sharply, a small spot of blood opening up where it was buried. Jiraiya tossed it aside, looking ahead with a frown and lightly panting. Naruto was pushing him, that much was true. He checked his wrists where Naruto had grabbed earlier, looking for the kid's marking. A bit relieved and confused, he put them down. He would ask Naruto later why he didn't mark him when he had the chance. He needed to pull back and think up a strategy, otherwise it would make it more difficult for him than it already was. Can't hide from me. Jiraiya was barely able to duck under the punch that Naruto threw at him, pulling back. The knee he attempted was blocked, and he was forced to jump when a second one slashed at him. Looking up, he withheld his groan when he saw 5 more. Naruto sure loved his shadow clones. While Jiraiya was busy taking care of the clones, Naruto prepared one of his large-scale jutsus, taken from the night aim. He held his palms outward, then clapped them back. Sway-tun, swish-shuha. Water style, water colliding wave. He made use of the abundant moisture in the air, and in moments, a spiraling vortex of water came into existence, as high as 15 feet. The top exploded in the form of a wave, which Naruto directed towards where Jiraiya was fighting his clones. Jiraiya was employing the use of complex acrobatics that a man really should avoid at his age, to take out the clones. Just as he had dispatched the fourth clone, he heard it. He heard it before he saw it, and substituted himself with a broken wood stick a few meters away just as it hit the area. The clones were taken out, but Naruto was able to see where Jiraiya was, and directed the wave towards him. He needed to hurry or else Jiraiya would run out of range. Jiraiya jumped further away, and saw the wave die behind him. Landing on the ground, he listened intently for any sound. Upon finding none, he took out a scroll from his jacket and was about to unseal the contents when he jerked back, avoiding a kunai. He jumped further away when the explosion took place, out of reach. "I hope you're not holding back on me, Naruto," he called out. Naruto appeared in front of him in a flash, face completely serious. "Trust me, I'm not." Jiraiya spread his arms. "You just wasted a huge amount of chakra on that water technique." "Huge for you, drops for me." Naruto then smirked. "You are slowing down in your age, old man. You are in worse condition than me. That torso must be aching right now." Jiraiya scoffed. "Ignoring pain is no big deal for me." But they both knew that wasn't true. Naruto had been steadily wearing Jiraiya down with attacks to his body, and it was only a matter of time before Jiraiya was forced down. This was a battle of attrition now, and Naruto wasn't about to lose. He was an Uzumaki, and they don't know how to give up. A battle of stamina is the one where an Uzumaki never lost. Naruto's hand slipped into one of his hip pouches, taking out something. His smirk widened when horror plastered itself on Jiraiya's face when he recognized what it was. Naruto made sure to keep it out of reach, as well as watch out for any sudden grabs. Jiraiya fumbled checking his pouches, but it was not there. "Wow!" So shocked was Jiraiya that he was unable to form a complete sentence. Because what Naruto was holding in his hands was the latest draft of Ika Ika. No one was supposed to see it, not even Naruto, even if the kid had proofread Ika Ika Paradise. The reason he couldn't afford to lose it was. "I wonder what Tsunade's reaction be if I give it to her," Naruto said in mock thoughtful tone. "No!" Jiraiya lunged forward for the book, but Naruto was faster than him as they took to the trees. Jiraiya desperately tried to catch up, but Naruto remained ahead of him, occasionally throwing an explosive tag at him. "How do you even know about that?" Jiraiya was on a mental breakdown, and it was too funny to see. Naruto laughed as he tree-hopped. "You study from my notes, I study yours. Tit for tat, don't you think?" Jiraiya growled as he continued to follow Naruto. He knew what the blonde was trying to do, and he didn't care. There was no way he was losing 2 years' worth of research because Naruto decided it was good blackmail material. He created a shadow clone that put on a sudden burst of speed, attempting to tackle the blonde out of air. As he predicted, Naruto jumped up, letting the clone go underneath, but this was what Jiraiya expected. He sent chakra to his feet and lunged, tackling Naruto when he was midair. "Ga!" Naruto gave a surprised shout as he was body slammed by Jiraiya. He cursed when the book slipped from his hands, and Jiraiya used him as a board to jump off after it, as the book was directly headed for a puddle of water. Time slowed down for Naruto as he used his danger sense to increase his perception. Jiraiya's right hand was outstretched towards the notebook, and he would catch it before he landed in the puddle. Naruto reached behind, pulling a card with a seal written on it from an outer pocket of his hip pouch. Jiraiya had caught the book and was flipping forward to land on his feet. "Man, I hope a breeze doesn't blow it away," he desperately thought before throwing the card, aiming for the bottom of Jiraiya's feet. If he was accurate, Jiraiya would step on it and activate the seal, giving Naruto an opening to land his third strike. His aim was true, as the card reached under Jiraiya's right foot just as he landed. The seal activated due to the pressure-sensitive component in it, and there was a visible current of electricity that flew over Jiraiya's body, shocking him. The tag was designed to temporarily paralyze the enemy, just for 5 seconds, enough for the others to take him down. The tag ran out of chakra, and Jiraiya fell forward, muscles twitching as the nervous system received a shock, causing it to get confused. Naruto landed on a bark of a tree and pushed off, landing beside Jiraiya and swiftly making another cut to the neck, marking his third strike. You know, I'm getting this feeling that you're making this rather easy for me, Naruto pondered, crouching beside his teacher. Jiraiya growled as the control of his limbs came back to him. The brat was taunting him. 3 strikes, and Naruto had yet to take any damage. Not only that, but Naruto was targeting his weak spots. He didn't know whether to be proud of that or frustrated. Jiraiya backflipped away from Naruto, in a fighting stance. Watch out, brat, I'm going on the offense this time. Naruto chuckled. I've been waiting for a long time for that. Jiraiya cut his thumb, and slammed his hand on the ground. Kuchiyos no Jutsu. Naruto flash stepped away, because the figure that came out of the explosion of smoke was larger than the trees themselves. A gigantic red toad, with a blue sleeveless jacket and a tanto strapped to its belt. There was a smoking pipe in its mouth. Clearly this was a boss-level summon. Naruto narrowed his eyes as the summon started to speak. Jiraiya! Where am I? Naruto winced as the toad shouted out to Jiraiya, clearly peeved about being summoned. The shout reverberated throughout the entire forest, scaring away any birds or animals in the vicinity. Naruto, however, hesitated to summon any foxes. Maybe he could fight Jiraiya before the toad noticed him. He was literally an ant compared to the guy. Quickly, he ran around the toad to the back. Meanwhile, Jiraiya tried calming the toad boss down. Now Bunta, no need for the tantrum. I summoned you to fight my student. That only served to irritate Gamabunta more. Fight your student? You want me to fight Naruto? Yes, it's a part of his final test, so. Why the hell should I fight him? And who the hell is running up my back? Jiraiya turned around with wide eyes when he saw Naruto running up to him. Cursing, he told the toad to move. It's Naruto. He's coming to attack me. For once, Gamabunta's massive ego worked into Jiraiya's favor, because the toad boss completely lost all composure. Jiraiya had to make sure to stick to his skin, because Gamabunta was shaking himself like an angry bull. Blee! No one is allowed to stand on my head except my summoner. Naruto was caught off guard, because the next thing he knew, he was falling towards the forest from the toad's upper back. Quickly flashing to a kunai, he considered his situation. He really might have no choice but to summon one of the foxes. Cutting his thumb, he slammed it down on the ground. Kuchiyos no Jutsu. An explosion of smoke, rivaling that of the boss toad, took place, and when the sun dispersed, Naruto was standing on a dark blue fox with a red haori, a chikudo strapped to his back. A single, bushy tail, with the end dipped in white, moved lazily behind him. It's been a long time since you summoned me, Naruto. The deep rumble that was his voice caused Naruto to smile in remembrance. It hasn't Takashi-san? Must be even longer in the fox realm. True. So you brought me out to face Gamabunta, huh? Naruto shrugged and eyed the toad, who had gone silent with the appearance of the fox. I figured, why not? One boss to another. The fox chuckled and gripped his sword, giving a toothy smile to his opponent. Nice to meet you, my name is Takashi, the boss of foxes. It seemed like Gamabunta had somewhat of a thug attitude, for he didn't bother with the curtsy, something that pissed Naruto off. Gamabunta took out his tanto and held it, a hostile look in his eye. Gamabunta, let's begin. The two summons clashed, the weapons making a clang sound so loud that Naruto wished he could cover up his ears. But he had a job to perform. Concentrating chakra into his hands, he began building up the heat. A small, compressed ball of fire sat in his right palm in moments. Jumping up so that he didn't burn Takashi, he thrust his hand towards Jiraiya. Katon Taikafu! Fire style, Great Fire Blast. A large beam of fire shot out from the compressed ball, heading directly towards Jiraiya, who had wide eyes upon seeing it. Never had he seen Naruto ever practice that jutsu, whatever it was. It was easily A rank, seeing how much chakra Naruto put into it. He flashed through seals of one of the few water techniques he knew. Suiton, Suiden no Jutsu. Water style, Water bullet technique. The stream of water collided with the fire, neutralizing them both. A drop of sweat ran down Jiraiya's face at how much chakra he was expending. This is bad. At this rate, I would run out of chakra to summon Ma and Pa. I need to back off for now. Thankfully, just as Jiraiya stopped his water technique, the fire in Naruto's hands ran out. Naruto landed on Takashi's snout, just as the giant fox punched Gamabunta in the face, sending them back. The toad boss grunted, rubbing his nose. This guy is no joke. Jiraiya, give me fire. Jiraiya winced. Sorry Bunta, but I need to conserve chakra to summon Ma and Pa. Normally, Jiraiya's refusal to cooperate would have pissed Gamabunta off, but the fact that he was calling the sages was shocking enough to abate the anger. Jiraiya, are you serious? Deadly? Gamabunta went completely silent at that, being serious for once. I don't know why you need to go that far for just a test, Jiraiya, but that is not my business. I will hold them off, you do what you have to do. Jiraiya nodded and was about to summon them when he was suddenly thrown off the Toad Boss's head. Caught totally off guard, he was barely able to right himself in midair, hitting a few branches and making an awkward landing. Kipping up, he faced Naruto, who was standing in his fighting stance. How did you kick me off? He asked incredulously. The kind of distance Naruto covered wasn't possible by flash step, and Jiraiya hadn't seen any kunai heading towards him for Hiraishin. Naruto smirked and replied, body flicker. Now he felt stupid for asking. Oh. Yeah, Naruto agreed before attacking. Jiraiya doubled back before proceeding to go entirely on the defensive. Naruto's attacks were relentless, and were not limited to just punches or kicks. Naruto had a large variety of both of them, but he didn't hesitate to use his elbows, knees, or even head. It just made him a lot more unpredictable. Jiraiya took out a kunai and slashed out, forcing Naruto back. Forming a shadow clone, the two of them teamed up on Jiraiya. Naruto managed to get a fist into Jiraiya's gut, winding him, while the shadow clone took advantage of the opening and front flipped behind Jiraiya, driving his feet at the base of Jiraiya's back. The older man let out a sharp cry of pain as he stumbled forward before face-planting. Jiraiya grit his teeth as he fought to push the pain aside. Through a great amount of willpower, he pushed through the pain, knowing that he needed to summon the sages. Technically, he would pass Naruto right now and then. Not many had come this close to hurting him, but he was struggling against the blonde. But he needed to see how Naruto would combat the sage mode. He jumped aside from a fireball and put some distance between them. Naruto smirked, still in his stance. Are you alright, Ero-sennin? Do you need a break? Jiraiya really wanted to say yes, but damn if he was going to give up like this. He twisted his back, wincing at the cracking sound it produced. It gave him some relief, but it was enough for now. Nah, let's finish this test, he said with a grin, falling into his own stance. His grin faltered at the maniacal grin that Naruto returned. Good, my thoughts exactly. Naruto slammed his hands into the snake seal, his legs wide in a horse stance. To Jiraiya's surprise, the ground started shaking. Whatever this earth jutsu was, it was going to reshape the landscape, of that Jiraiya was sure. I haven't mastered this nature release exactly, Naruto grunted, the jutsu taking great effort out of him, but it should work for now. To Jiraiya's shock, trees started uprooting from the ground. Only one thing came to his mind. Impossible, he couldn't have. Naruto's grin widened till it reached his ears as he threw his hands forward. Mokuton, Jukai Koten. Wood style, nativity of a world of trees. Jiraiya used body flicker to move back before an entire forest slammed to him. He didn't stop running as he tried to figure out just how Naruto managed to use the Shodai's one of the most devastating techniques. As he thought hard about it, one thing stuck out to him. Naruto never announces his jutsu's names. But Naruto couldn't use genjutsu, so that meant only one thing. Kai. Jiraiya released the biggest burst of chakra until date to disrupt the genjutsu. His act overloaded the seal that was stuck on his pants when the clone kicked him, knocking him out of genjutsu, just in time for him to see a flying kick colliding with his face, sending him flying through a tree. Naruto lightly panted, not expecting Jiraiya to figure out so quickly that he was in a genjutsu. He was about to deliver his fourth strike when Jiraiya bust the seal, forcing him to kick him away. The seal tag was something that he had created with Kurama's help, considering he couldn't use any genjutsu except for one. The tag had his Yin chakra, that he had very carefully separated. This was the first field test, and now he knew the flaws. He wanted to cover his weak areas, but using genjutsu had never been his style, so he was unsure of how to proceed. Surprisingly, Jiraiya was weak at them as well, so he was unable to help. Jiraiya panted heavily, not expecting a genjutsu of that strength from Naruto. Just how many things had he kept hidden from Jiraiya? Still, it was damn impressive. Checking his neck, he found only 3 partially healed cuts, which meant Naruto hadn't managed to land a fourth strike. But now he was low on chakra, which meant he couldn't summon the sages. He was scratched all over, blood coming out from the scratches in small amounts. His body was in complete pain after taking so much punishment. There wasn't much a shinobi could do when they were low on chakra and completely wounded. Except. Jiraiya reached into his hip pouch and felt around for the chakra pill. He could count on one hand how many times he had taken it in his life, and still have fingers left. Without wasting time, he put it in his mouth and swallowed it directly. He got up as the pill replenished his chakra to the full, and even partially healed his wounds. With his stamina completely back, Jiraiya could now go on the offensive. Naruto eyed the recovered form of Jiraiya with narrowed eyes. To be honest, he didn't feel much worried. He had countered every attack from Jiraiya quite effectively, and there wasn't much that the old pervert could do now. Even fully recovered, Naruto had pushed him back. So just what was he planning to do? I know that you are still formidable when low on chakra, Naruto began, but you must have something in mind if you of all people resorted to taking that pill. Jiraiya smirked, but didn't say anything. Naruto cracked his neck. Fine, don't say anything. But I'm about to earn the fourth strike now, so you better brace yourself. Jiraiya had different plans, however, and was about to attack when Naruto formed a ram sign. Thinking that the blonde had traps set up in the area, he stood back in his position. But his eyes bugged out when he saw that Naruto had just performed an henge, and they threatened to pop out of their sockets at the sight before them. Harem no Jutsu, Sabit no Hito no Yum. Harem technique, every man's dream. Out of the smoke came various barely clad forms of the woman of his fantasies, Tsunade. Each of them was clad in a bikini that was barely covering her nipples and private area. Blood rushed into the capillaries of his nose, threatening to burst. A small part of his brain told him that this was just another one of Naruto's pervy techniques, and he should snap out of it. But then one of the Tsunade came to him, wrapping her arms around his neck and her left leg hooking onto his waist. Her mouth came near his ear, and she whispered in a seductive voice. "Oh Jiraiya," her voice was husky, oozing sensuality. "I know how long you have been wanting to play with me." That was as far as the clone got, after which Jiraiya simply couldn't take anymore. Pushing against his chest, leg wrapped around him, his nose exploded in a fantastic shower of blood, knocking him onto his back. A perverse grin was spread on his face, even after being knocked out. Naruto released the jutsu after his godfather passed out. He dearly hoped Tsunade didn't catch wind of this, but she was Jiraiya's most tender spot, and his main fantasy. He knew he would be asked to do it sometime again in the future, which he definitely won't, but for now, he had his fourth strike. His solid henge was awesome. He walked up and cut open a small scratch on Jiraiya's throat once more, and waited for the man to wake up. He would catch a rest while his master got up. Looking up, he saw that Takashi had beaten Gamabunta up, but not before receiving an impressive shiner to his eye. The giant toad dispersed, shortly followed by Takashi, who gave Naruto a nod before returning as well. Jiraiya came around after 2 minutes, groaning as he got up. "Man, I wish that wasn't a dream," he groaned in dismay. "It wasn't," came a voice behind him. He was up in less than a second, scowling at Naruto, who was merrily eating an apple. Naruto swallowed his bite and replied, "It really happened. You know, today is the first time that I've had this many moments where I'm torn whether I should be proud of you or just beat you up," Jiraiya growled. Naruto just finished his apple up and clapped his hands clean. "Maybe we can talk after we finish this test? I've got only one more strike to land on you." Jiraiya smirked. If Naruto was this confident, he wouldn't mind giving him some time to prepare for Sage Mode, would he? "Say, would you mind giving me a couple of minutes to prepare for this one?" Naruto frowned as he spun a kunai by its ring. "If you were anyone else, I would just say fuck you and take you out, but since this is a test, go ahead," he finished with a shrug. "I'll give you a fight this time," Jiraiya muttered before cutting his thumb and summoning the sage toads. The weird-looking frogs surprised Naruto a bit, because one of them had a hippie hairstyle with a cloak and the other had a grandma look to her, wearing a similar cloak. Naruto recoiled slightly when he observed that the supposedly female toad had purple lipstick. Then he hid a shudder when they turned their gazes onto him. Thank God he had a contract already. The toads already gave him the creeps, but this just looked something out of a disturbing dream. "Jiraiya-chan," the green toad barked out. "Is that Naruto-chan?" Naruto was trying not to snicker when the green toad called Jiraiya-chan. But his face soured when the toad turned the suffix onto him. He probably recognized the resemblance between him and his father. Jiraiya nodded as he fell into a horse stance, clapping his hands. "Yes, Fukasaku-sama. I'm going to enter it." Immediately, the lady toad turned around and started shouting at him. "Are you mad? You know how powerful Sage Mode is, and you want to use it against a boy. Not even a fully trained shinobi, but a boy?" Who do you think put all these bloody scratches on me? This is a test, so please don't argue with me on this, Shima-sama. So these were the Toad Sages, Shima and Fukasaku-sama? They sure do look and talk ridiculous, he mused. Fukasaku tried to reason with Jiraiya. He very well knew how powerful Jiraiya was when he entered Sage Mode. It was very impressive that Naruto managed to wound Jiraiya this much, but Sage Mode was an entirely different league. Jiraiya-chan, if Naruto-chan can't. I wouldn't have called you if it wasn't absolutely necessary, Fukasaku-sama, Jiraiya pleaded. Naruto watched as the sages deliberated for some time, before agreeing, though looking highly reluctant. Very well, Jiraiya-chan. But you must hold back. Naruto took offense to that, but before he could say anything, the sages jumped onto Jiraiya's shoulders, sitting in the same position as Jiraiya. Jiraiya cut both of his thumbs and drew 2 lines perpendicular beneath his eyes, and then all 3 of them went absolutely still. Naruto remained in his stance, not sure what Jiraiya was preparing, not knowing anything about this Sage Mode. Wakarama, do you have any idea what they're talking about? Yeah, and you're going to need my help if you want to win this one. The growl that came back was reassuring, but not the reply. What is Sage Mode? I'll tell you later. For now, concentrate. I can sense that they are almost ready. Keep your distance, and avoid hand-to-hand. Naruto frowned, not knowing what to say to that. His body was enhanced greatly through seals, but this Sage Mode had to be something if Kurama was telling him to avoid getting close. He blinked when he saw Jiraiya's face undergo a change. His nose grew bigger, and developed hearts, not unlike any of the toads he so frequently worked with. Facial hair grew on his face, and when he opened his eyes, they were exactly like those of a toad. All in all, he looked hilarious. Naruto was sensing a strange kind of energy within Jiraiya, and was able to place it after a moment's thought. It was the same thing he felt when he put his finger onto the ground to cover a greater radius with his sensing. It was the feeling of the abundant chakra that was in the ground, chakra that he used to boost his sensing. Nature chakra. So Jiraiya absorbed chakra from the nature? Wonder how strong that makes him. But he couldn't help but ask. Is Sage Mode supposed to look like that? Jiraiya grumbled and replied, giving Naruto a glimpse of his sharpened teeth. No, but it works for me. I usually avoid using this because it scares the ladies away. A snicker escaped Naruto's mouth. You think too much with your balls, Ero-sennin. The toads laughed on that, but Jiraiya chose to attack. One moment, he was standing 10 feet away from Naruto. The next, Naruto crossed arms were blocking the punch, sending him flying back through 2 trees, after which he painfully landed on the ground. He may have enhanced durability, but going through trees like that hurts no matter what. That, and his arms were tingling. A grin slowly grew on his face. His excitement was kicking in, at fighting such a strong opponent. Jiraiya might be physically better than him right now, which meant only one thing: he could go all out. He kicked up into his stance, ducking immediately to dodge the kick at his head. He raised his leg up in a straight kick, which was blocked by Jiraiya. He followed up with a punch, which was blocked too quite easily. Naruto kept on grinning, because he wasn't holding back his strength at all, and Jiraiya was blocking all his attacks like they were puppy taps. Usually, he would duck his attacks because even when not at full power, they were enough to daze him for a moment or two. He kept on attacking, but Jiraiya blocked them all without even moving from his spot. Naruto deduced that Jiraiya's strength and durability would have likely increased, along with the speed of his reflexes. Every hit felt like he was practicing his moves against a redwood tree pole back in his 2nd year. Spinning around, he sent his strongest punch to Jiraiya's face, and was shocked that Jiraiya only stumbled back a step. A chakra-enhanced punch, with his already enhanced strength, only forced the man back a step. This was the sort of punch that would break anyone's neck, a one-hit kill. Even more, his knuckles throbbed in pain. Retreating back, he sent his fingers right towards Jiraiya's eyes. But Jiraiya didn't block this time, sending his own punch against Naruto's face. Naruto leaned away, avoiding the punch, but he was too close to avoid the invisible hit to his jaw. The hit sent Naruto back, spinning in the air before he managed to right himself. He smirked, tenderly rubbing where he was hit. He would have a bruise, which was a rarity in the past few months. Memories of the first few months of training with Jiraiya came back, where he was bruised every day. Now, though, he could no longer fight Jiraiya with normal means. Looks like I might be in some trouble after all, he muttered. Jiraiya went on the offense this time, rushing towards Naruto with a fist drawn back. Not wanting to take a stronger hit, Naruto flash stepped 50 meters away and threw some shuriken at him. He watched with a lesser amount of surprise when the shuriken simply bounced off the sage. What is he, fucking Superman? He grumbled, readying up a jutsu. Air compressed in his hand, just like the ball of fire. But if wanted to deal any kind of damage to Jiraiya now, he would have to be careful of his position. He jumped up, avoiding Jiraiya, who changed course and came after him. They began a game of tag, with Jiraiya chasing Naruto, who was jumping around the trees like crazy to avoid Jiraiya, who seemed to have closed the gap between their speeds. Compressing more air into the ball, Naruto ducked under the arm that would have caught his throat, and spun in the air, throwing a kunai high up in the air. He jumped back to avoid Jiraiya again, but the man caught him and threw him to the ground, rushing after him. Naruto flashed to the kunai in the air, his jutsu finally ready. He thrust his arm towards Jiraiya, releasing a beam of air that if he aimed at the trees, would have destroyed the entire forest. Futon, Arashur no Torai. Wind style, coming of a storm. Since Jiraiya was under Naruto in midair, therefore not in a position to dodge, took the blast head on. He grunted along with the Toad Sages, who braced themselves for the attack. They only had a moment to marvel at the size and the intensity of the attack before it slammed into them. Jiraiya grunted as he slammed into the ground, creating a crater of a 10-meter radius. The wind cut into his clothes, tearing away his red jacket, but didn't do any damage to his body. The sages were a bit more ruffled, but no more damage than Jiraiya. Naruto's jutsu ran out, with him landing on the ground. It didn't even cut into him. What the fuck? His senses rang in alarm, and he ducked low to avoid the punch. But the next one caught him right in the gut. It drove all the air out of him, and even caused him to cough up blood. It was like his durability was nothing against Sage Mode, because that hit felt like someone slammed a pole into his stomach at the speed of a diving falcon. The hit was so strong that it lifted Naruto off his feet, which Jiraiya followed up with a punch that connected directly to Naruto's face. Arg! Naruto let out the shout in pain, as he felt his jaw breaking. In addition to that, he flew through not one, but 4 trees this time, felling them. He landed on the ground painfully, his jaw in agonizing pain. Damn it, that hurt! He heard a scoff from the fox. I told you to avoid getting close, didn't I? I wasn't expecting him to break my jaw like that. I think I need to use your chakra. A snort this time. You think? But he was already sending his chakra to the jaw, rapidly healing it. Within half a minute, which Naruto spent flash stepping away from Jiraiya, his jaw was healed. You need to put some distance between you and him. In this state, his sensory abilities are enhanced greatly. Hiding isn't an option for you. Without a word, Naruto flashed away to a kunai 3 miles away. If what Kurama said was right, Jiraiya would find him without a problem, and was probably on his way here. Time to power up, he muttered. He opened 3 of the reservoir gates, allowing 3 tails of Kurama's power into him. Over the course of 3 years, Naruto had fully mastered 7 of the 9 tails of power. The reason he hadn't mastered all of them was because Kurama told him that Naruto's seal was already weakening, but the forcing out of Kurama's chakra had only accelerated the breakdown. If it broke, Kurama would be forced out and Naruto would die. Jiraiya had warned Naruto as well when they were training in the training caves. It was him, Naruto discovered, who had the key to Naruto's seal. Jiraiya refused to give him the key though, despite Naruto's assurances that he could handle Kurama's power. He was afraid of the seal breaking, he told Naruto, and because of that, Naruto could die. In the end, he was the one who tightened it once more. Naruto could still use 7 tails of chakra, but it would take much more time for him to fully tap into that much power with the seal tightened. 3 tails made of chakra, but fully adopting the appearance of normal fox tails, came out from behind him. His features became feral, his whisker marks becoming prominent once more, and his eyes became red with a vertical slit. His canines sharpened more than they already were, becoming visible outside his mouth. His nails increased in length, as his power grew. His control was so refined that only a thin sheet of orange covered him, except for the tails that were part of the form. He could sense Jiraiya closing in rapidly, only 700 meters away now. Growling, he clasped his hands into the snake seal, slamming them onto the ground. Doton, Tsuchinami no Jutsu. Earth style, earth wave technique. Normally, this jutsu would only send waves across the ground that were meant to disturb the opponent's balance. But Naruto deliberately overpowered it, so instead of just normal waves, the waves that emerged were so powerful that trees and the ground itself got uprooted, chunks of the ground getting torn and flying into the air. Jiraiya, who was running full speed to where Naruto was, stumbled, and was launched into the air. He quickly recovered and landed on his feet, which were quickly swept to the side by Naruto, and he was kicked right in the ribs, sending him flying back. Fukasaku grunted as he was forced to brace himself much more firmly. Just how have you trained him, Jiraiya-chan? The boy is a monster. Ya pay attention, because he's coming right at us. Shima's warning pushed him back into attention as Naruto came after them, no longer vulnerable to the sage attacks as his own strength and durability was enhanced. Fist clashed with fist, the resulting shockwave powerful enough to send cracks along the ground. They fell into another round of taijutsu, with Naruto now fighting on par with Jiraiya. Naruto found it highly impressive that Jiraiya's Sage Mode was equal to his 3 tails of power. His excitement grew, and he attacked with even more ferocity. Jiraiya aimed a left elbow strike towards Naruto's face, to which Naruto leaned back to avoid and switched to offense. Jumping to his right, Naruto buried his left knee into Jiraiya's stomach, a grunt escaping the older man's mouth, an indication that he felt that one. Jiraiya stumbled back a few steps from the knee. He then ducked and dodged the attacks Naruto threw at him, blocking a few of them. Fukasaku and Shima joined hands, preparing an attack of their own. Hold on a bit, Jiraiya-chan. Easier said than done, Jiraiya grunted as his right cross punch was knocked aside by Naruto, followed by an elbow slamming into his ribs. There was an audible crack as the bone cracked inside. Naruto capitalized on Jiraiya remaining open and delivered 3 punches to the torso, followed by one to the face that drew blood. Naruto then employed a side kick, using the momentum to spin a complete circle in the air and slamming a tornado kick to the side of Jiraiya's face, knocking him to the side and sending him flying once more. Before he could recover, however, Naruto flashed to him and kicked him again, sending him flying. Flashing to Jiraiya again, he punched him, sending him to the ground where he made a small crater. He then caught a branch and pushed himself towards Jiraiya, intending to land a double fist strike and put him down for good. But he was surprised when Shima-sama launched her tongue at him, wrapping around his arm. The creepy thing was that even the tongue had a snake-like face. She then slammed him to the side, in a similar crater to Jiraiya's. Before Naruto could grip it and wrench his arm free, it let go of him. The tongue retracted back into Shima's mouth, who grimaced. What a terrible taste of that Kyuubi's chakra. Jiraiya pushed himself to his feet and stared at Naruto, who stared back. The two stood still, gazing each other up. It was the moment of the battle where both of them knew where the other stood. Jiraiya knew that he couldn't keep this up forever. Naruto had him outmatched in chakra capacity and endurance, while even though Jiraiya had ate a chakra pill to replenish his chakra, he was going to run out of Sage Mode in another 3 minutes. Naruto stood in his fighting stance, left leg on the front and right in the back, right fist near his face and left held before him, his tails waving behind him. He needed to think of a way to end this fight. Every time Jiraiya was open, the toads were there to cover up. And he had no idea what seal to use, because he really didn't want to kill his godfather because he used a faulty seal to neutralize the nature chakra in him. Kurama, think you got any ideas to beat him? You could just wait until he runs out of time, but there's a better way to finish him. I need you to slap him. Say what? Slap him, palm strike, whatever you humans call it. Here's what we're going to do. Jiraiya watched Naruto closely for any sudden moves the blonde would make. But if Naruto decided to use Hiraishin, he won't be able to counter. Naruto was probably doing the same too, but he had a sneaking suspicion that Naruto was talking to his tenant. He couldn't say for sure, because Naruto's emotions were too controlled in fight. Naruto kept a close eye on Jiraiya while listening to Kurama. The idea was completely crazy, but it had merit. Kurama assured him that it was only supposed to hold Jiraiya in place while disturbing the balance of nature chakra within him, ending the Sage Mode. Let's do this. Before he could make a move, Jiraiya did. And he broke the rules too, because he was coming at Naruto with a big ball Rasengan, bigger than Naruto's upper body. He was thankful for his ability to perceive things faster, because he was able to react instantly. A purple Rasengan, equal to Jiraiya's size, materialized in his hands at a moment's notice. He thrust his hand forward, colliding it with Jiraiya's Sage Mode Rasengan. A mild shockwave was released when they crashed, and both tried their hardest to overpower the other. Naruto grit his teeth as he pushed harder, with Jiraiya pushing equally hard. Both the Rasengan exploded, an enormous shockwave being released that cracked the ground in a 20-meter radius. Both the shinobi were thrown back, but recovered in seconds. Jiraiya's limbs switched to more toad-like, allowing him greater dexterity in his movements, while Naruto simply flashed to a kunai he threw earlier. Shinobi don't follow any rules in a fight, that is the only rule a shinobi must follow, Naruto muttered, remembering the lesson when Jiraiya taught it to him. He should have known better. A small amount of irritation passed through him. his lips pulling back in a snarl. Naruto, switch with me now. Right. With Kurama now in control, he gave a savage grin. It always felt good when Naruto switched with him from time to time. Too bad he couldn't enjoy it this time. He flashed right where Jiraiya was, landing a palm strike right into Jiraiya's stomach. The man coughed up blood, being thrown back due to the strike rattling all of his insides despite the Sage mode. Slamming his legs onto the ground, he skidded backwards so as to avoid losing the side of Naruto in a flip. Jiraiya-chan, give me fire. Jiraiya obeyed without hesitation, hands flashing through seals. Senpo, Gameya Enden. Sage Art, Toad Oil Flame Bullet. Kurama gave control back to Naruto, who came to his senses in a jerk. Naruto formed the Tiger Seal as soon as he saw the oil in slow motion heading towards him. Katan Menamaya Nai Hai. Fire style, invisible fire. He breathed out sharply, the colorless beam of gas heading straight towards the fire oil combo. Colliding with it, the resulting explosion was so huge that both the fighters had to jump away. The force of the explosion created a new clearing in the forest, but Naruto was no longer paying attention, having sensed that Jiraiya was heading right towards him from the sky. Falling into a stance to receive him, Naruto readied himself. Jiraiya was falling towards him with another big ball Rasengan in hand. As soon as he was in range, Naruto grabbed his forearm with both hands and pulled him right towards himself, moving out of the way from the side. The Rasengan smashed into the ground and created a whole new crater, bigger than what the normal big ball Rasengan could create. Nature chakra must enhance the strength of the jutsu, he theorized, as Jiraiya turned back and threw a couple of shuriken towards Naruto. Scoffing in amusement, Naruto merely caught all of them in one hand and threw them aside, waiting for the follow-up attack. Surely, it came as Jiraiya had jumped up to a tree and used the bark to propel himself towards Naruto at great speed. But this time, Naruto was ready with his technique. As soon as Jiraiya was within 5 feet, Naruto activated the small bit of chakra that Kurama had passed on to Jiraiya in the palm strike. He snapped an open palm forward, where it glowed orange. Jiraiya stopped right where he was, his entire form being engulfed in an orange cloak that manifested like a flaming fire. It was Kurama's chakra that manifested itself as a cloak, and both Naruto and Kurama could control it since it was their chakra. What the? Jiraiya sputtered along with the sages as they were caught in a bind. The sudden engulfing in demonic chakra, its extremely foul and chaotic feel caused all of them to lose their grasp on Naruto energy. In a visible snap, the sage mode was knocked out of Jiraiya, who looked at Naruto with saucers for eyes. Naruto slowly lowered Jiraiya until he was standing on the ground, still engulfed in Kurama's chakra. Walking up to Jiraiya, he grinned triumphantly. 5th strike, and I win. With that, he knocked the sage out cold with a punch to the face. Jiraiya groaned as he came into consciousness once more. His entire body was waking all over, especially his ribs. A memory came of Naruto cracking his rib during their fight, and he winced. Man, he totally hooped my ass, he grumbled, a bit sour about losing, but instead of taking a fall, his pride had shot up through the roof. He had trained Naruto, now one of the most dangerous men alive. If he could take Jiraiya out with such ease, he would be just fine. Getting up, he tenderly held his side as he walked out of the tent he was in. He took a deep breath and a moment to take stock of his surroundings. It was night, and he could see that they were by a riverside, with the clean water of the river gently flowing down the slope. Turning around, he saw Naruto and Haruto chatting over some meat. Haruto laughed at something Naruto said, while the latter just smirked and finished the roasted catfish in his hand. Jiraiya walked towards them slowly, and said out loud, I hope you saved some for me. Both the Uzumaki faced him, with the red one showing him a thumbs up with a grin. Great fight, Jiraiya-sama. I hope my performance was acceptable, Naruto remarked, making air quotes. Jiraiya snorted and sat beside his godson, pulling him into a one-armed hug. It was damn good, kid. You blew all my expectations away, he complimented. Naruto smiled, the feeling of satisfaction and pride filling him up to the brim. Glad to know that 3 years of hell was worth something after all. Jiraiya snorted, taking a roasted salmon stick and bit a tiny chunk off. It sure was. Your father said the same thing after he finished his test, you know. There was silence for a while as they focused on finishing their food. While on his 3rd salmon stick, Jiraiya spoke up, giving a glare to his student. That was a dirty trick you pulled, by the way. Transforming into Tsunade like that. Naruto gave an incredulous stare to his godfather. I thought you would appreciate it. Jiraiya spit a burnt piece out. You knew that she's my weak spot. Strike where your enemy is weak, Naruto interrupted, staring at him. I told you before, Ero-sennin, you think too much with your balls. Hell, I even warned you that it might bite you back someday. Jiraiya had no counter for it, for those were his own words, and Naruto had repeatedly told him before. But being a pervert was in his nature, in his blood. He couldn't let go of what he was. Naruto turned back on his salmon stick. Plus, it's not that hard to imagine what you think of Bachan. Your fantasies are disturbing, Ero-sennin. Jiraiya pointed an indignant finger at him. You think of her like that too, brat. Otherwise you wouldn't have come up with that technique. And I am more than disturbed to think of an old lady like that, Naruto snapped back. I'm going to have nightmares for weeks now. I hope you do, Jiraiya grumbled, still sour about that particular strike. So Naruto, Haruto began, leaning forward in interest, Jiraiya told me you have a bounty on your head. Naruto stopped chewing for a moment to frown, then swallowed. You mean he never told you before? Haruto shook his head in negative. Naruto smirked before pulling out a bingo book from his hip pouch, handing it to the redhead. Last page. Haruto flipped to it, and as he read it, his eyes became as wide as saucers, jaw dropped, and looked like someone whose mind was switched off. He looked up, and pointed to the book. Is this shit for real? Naruto gave a slow grin as he nodded. Man, I'd hate to be you, but this is totally awesome, Haruto said as he tossed the bingo book back to Naruto. Name: Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. Age: 15 to 17. Gender: male. Origin: Konohagaku no Sato. Shinobi rank: Jonin. Caliber rank: SS. AK: Raijin no T, Hand of the Thunder God. Known elemental affinities: Katon, Suiton, possibly Futon as well. Skill set: Taijutsu 5. Ninjutsu 5. Fuinjutsu 5, speculated. Genjutsu NA. Intelligence 5, speculated. Strength 4.5. Speed 5. Stamina 4.5, speculated. Hand seals 4. Weapons: uses tri-pronged kunai with seal formula on the handle. Physical description: stands at 5 feet 9 inches, weight is around 67 kilos. Golden blonde hair, azure blue eyes, tan skin, wears leaf shinobi attire like Namikaze Minato. Special abilities: can sense chakra, S-rank chakra reserves despite his age. Extremely fast, high Jonin level, natural speed. Known family: Namikaze Minato, Yondaime Hokage, late father, Uzumaki Kushina, late mother, Uzumaki Temari, wife, daughter of late Yondaime Kazekage. Other information: has killed 1 Jonin, 2 Chunin from IWA effortlessly. Can use Hiraishin no Jutsu. Advice: flee on sight, engage at your own risk. Bounty: 120 million real, IWA. That's actually the bingo book entry from last year, when Naruto accidentally ran into a group of IWA nin while he was wearing just a towel, Jiraiya stated, smacking his lips with satisfaction of the meal. They don't even know what he's fully capable of, and I'm 90% sure that they based this entry on his use of the Hiraishin and the way he killed the nin without any weapons, Jiraiya added, smug that his student was that good. Haruto looked at Naruto in a new light, shaking his head in wonder. Man, if they only knew what you were really capable of. Naruto laughed as he leaned back on his arms. Best keep them in the dark. I don't plan to reveal everything, you know. He then focused on the night sky, which was full of stars. His mind formed an image of his wife, who was smiling and waving at him. Temari, I can hardly wait anymore for us to be together again. The sun rose up ever so slowly over the hills, casting its glow over the earth. Wildlife slowly woke up from their sleep, getting ready to hunt for the day. It was the kind of day that was rather rare, but the feeling that anyone would get was always positive. Such was the case with the shinobi sleeping in a tent by the riverside. Jiraiya kept snoring away like a pig, never having cared whether his heavy snoring would disturb other people in the vicinity. Naruto had heavily stuffed his ears with cotton, for Jiraiya might very well be running a chainsaw right next to him, his sensitive hearing not allowing him to ignore the snores. Haruto was in the same boat as his cousin, his ears almost overflowing with cotton. At first, he was quite annoyed when he slept with Naruto and Jiraiya for the first time since leaving with them. But due to the fear of being left behind because he annoyed them, he kept quiet. It was Naruto who discovered his problem and silently offered a solution. Since then, Both Uzumaki slept peacefully as if Jiraiya wasn't even there. The sun rays hit the wall of the tent, causing it to glow a little. Naruto's eyes crinkled as the light hit his eyes, fluttering open slowly. He released a groan as he pulled the covers over his eyes, wanting to sleep only a little more. He had been experiencing quite a pleasant dream of being back with Temari, in their bed and trying out a new move that he. His eyes snapped open and he shot up like a spring. That's right. Today's the day we go back. I get to see my Temari again. The mere thought itself had him vibrating in excitement. Shooting up from his bed, he exited the tent to go over his morning rituals. Knowing Jiraiya, he would be up shortly. And that man never allowed anyone to sleep once he had woken up. He was stingy like that. In his excitement, it took him a mere 15 minutes to get ready. Just as he was tying up his headband, he saw Jiraiya exiting the tent, Naruto following shortly. He greeted them cheerfully, knowing it would only annoy Jiraiya more. Top of the morning to you, Ero-senin. Jiraiya grumbled, eyes still droopy and posture still a bit stiff. Kami, it hurts to even look at him. Where does he get all that energy? While Jiraiya was still a bit graceful in his walk, Naruto was more or less wobbling, still rubbing the sleep out of his eyes. Geez Naruto, how can you be so cheerful so early? Naruto adjusted his arm bands a little. We get to go home today. How can you not be excited? Naruto gave a small, sleepy smile. He was excited in his own way, because he would finally have a proper home for the first time in his life, close to his family. He started walking towards one side of the riverbank when Naruto called out to him. Jiraiya's on that side. Without a word, he turned and walked the other way. Just as he passed Naruto, the blonde heard some muttering. Definitely don't want to see that. Naruto watched with bemusement as his cousin walked away to complete his morning rituals. Out in the forest, they were never a problem for him, but that was because he had marked a public restroom in the nearest town. Turning around, he set to pack up their camping supplies. He couldn't wait to everyone back home. Tsunade sighed as she filled out her signature on another paper. Honestly, she knew that the job of the Hokage was taxing, but she was beginning to wonder whether her grandfather and granduncle got killed themselves in the field just to get rid of the damn paperwork. It also did not help that her sensei kept smirking whenever he visited her and saw the pile of paperwork. He always vanished before she could ask him what was so damn funny. A knock on her door interrupted her from her musings. Come in. The door opened to reveal her apprentice, Sakura. Tsunade was proud to say that Sakura had grown a lot in the past 3 years. Ever since she told the remaining rookies that Naruto had left the village to train with Jiraiya, every single one of the rookies had thrown themselves into training, determined to close the gap between them and their friend. But Sakura was the biggest surprise of all. At first, Tsunade was slightly taken aback when Sakura had come to her and asked her to be her apprentice. At first, Tsunade wanted to refuse, excusing that she already had Shizen. But it was the determination in the pink-haired girl's eyes that got to her. Curious as to why Sakura was so determined, Tsunade agreed to train her. Only over the years she came to learn why Sakura was so determined to improve herself. She wanted to prove herself worthy of being Naruto's teammate. Sakura walked forward and placed the report she was carrying on Tsunade's desk. Momo-sensei said that some minor incision adjustments would have to be made, but nothing else that required major correction. Tsunade picked up the file and skimmed it over. Being the best medic nin in the world, she had set the bar for Sakura quite high. For every theoretical or practical test, Sakura was required to score no less than 98%. Tsunade knew that she was being a bit more tough on the girl than required, but seeing as Sakura had a knack for the more sophisticated side of ninja arts, she managed to reach the bar Tsunade had placed for her. Tsunade put the file back on her desk, nodding in approval. Well done, Sakura. Momo-sensei was right in her remark, but I don't want you repeating this mistake again. Got it? Sakura stood up a little straighter. Hi. Tsunade nodded and after thinking a little, she offered her a suggestion. Take the rest of the day off, Sakura. You've earned it. Sakura gave a small smile of accomplishment and happiness. She bowed and quickly left the Hokage tower. Tsunade smiled as she reached for another paper. She didn't know why, but suddenly she had a good feeling about today. Sakura smiled as she strolled in the crowded market street, picking up the vegetables that her mother had asked her to bring home. It was always good to receive an early off day from Tsunade-sama, because she pushed her hard every day. While Sakura craved rest sometimes, she was glad that Tsunade really pushed her hard. The amount of improvement she had gone through no longer made her feel like she was a weak link in the chain of Team 7. Team 7, now that I think about it, it has been 3 years since I saw Naruto. Shouldn't he be returning by now? Izumo yawned as he stared up at the sky with a bored gaze. Beside him, his partner was soundly snoring, oblivious to the world's happenings. Izumo always told himself that being a gate guard was important, since it was their duty to stop any enemy from entering the village. The truth was that the only reason he and Kotetsu had chosen this duty was because they were damn lazy. Pretty much nothing interesting happened at the gate, so there was no need to stay alert all the time. Besides, A and B were posted here as well, to pick up anything that they might miss. He caught some movement out of the corner of his eye, both eyes automatically drifting towards it. And then both the eyes grew as large as saucers, his right arm moving to shake his partner awake. His eyes never left the sight before him. "Oi, Kotetsu! Wake up!" Kotetsu immediately woke up, head darting from side to scan for any threat, as was his reflex. Not finding anything, he turned an annoyed gaze to his friend. "What is it, Izumo?" Izumo said nothing, only pointing a finger in front of him. Kotetsu followed his gaze, and his face adopted a similar expression to that of Izumo's. Seeing Jiraiya-sama was not a new sight for any of them, but the blonde and the redhead were. They didn't know who the redhead was, but there was no mistaking on who the blonde was. As if sensing their gazes, the blonde turned to face them and grinned. "Izumo, Kotetsu. Hey, what's up, guys?" It was Izumo who caught his tongue first, grinning back and standing up to greet the Uzumaki. "Naruto. Man, it's been a long time since I saw you. You've gotten big." The two of them shared a hand hug. Growth spurt kicked in, thankfully. "How've you been?" Izumo shrugged. "Oh, you know how it is with us. Nothing interesting." "The fact that you chose this dull life makes it easier to pity you," Naruto fired back. Kotetsu finally recovered to reply. "Better than doing something all the time." Izumo then turned his gaze towards the Sannin and bowed. "Jiraiya-sama." Jiraiya smirked and nodded back, but said nothing. Finally, Izumo turned to face the redhead, who was eyeing them with a bit of nervousness in his eyes. "So who's your friend here, Naruto?" Before Naruto could speak anything, Haruto stepped forward, extending a hand with a small smile. "Uzumaki Haruto, pleasure to meet you." That caused a short circuit in the Chunin's brain. "You Uzumaki, you say?" The redhead nodded with a smile. Izumo looked at Naruto, who was conversing with his partner. The confusion in his eyes was barely hiding the shock. "Is he related to you, Naruto?" Naruto turned towards Izumo and nodded. "Distant cousin? Found him in during my second year of training." Izumo tried to get at least some of his bearing, if not all. "Then it's safe to assume that he's permanently going to live in Konoha, right?" Naruto frowned a little in thought, then answered. "Yeah, he'll be a permanent resident of Konoha from now on." Izumo took out a paper from the drawer beneath his desk. "Well, good for you. You need to fill out this form though. The Hokage will have to sign this for you." Haruto shook his head. "No problem." Quickly filling out the necessary details, they bid their byes to the gatekeepers and slowly made their way into the village. Haruto looked around in wonder. "Kami, look at this place. The people here look so happy, and the forest, it feels like the trees themselves are breathing." Naruto laughed as he put a hand around his cousin's shoulders. "Well, scientifically speaking, trees do breathe." In a softer tone, he continued with a secretive twinkle in his eye, "But the trees of Konoha are special, unlike any other in the nations." "How so?" Naruto smiled. "Because they were grown by the Shodai Hokage, Senju Hashirama himself, through his Mokuton. They carry the very essence of his chakra, which was said to be so powerful that its density has yet to be rivaled by anyone else." Haruto looked amazed by this information. The Shodai Hokage could grow trees with his chakra? I've never heard of anyone who could do that. The Shodai was special that way. Mokuton was exceptional to him, and nobody can replicate it. You would think that only those of Senju blood would be able to use it, but no. It was then the Hokage mountain caught his eye. Oh, so they finally added Tsunade's face to the mountain. My clone didn't see that last time it came here. Jiraiya smiled. It must be only at the end of your second year. He then waved a hand towards the Hokage tower. Shall we? As they walked through the village, they gathered many stares from the villagers. The civilians broke out in intense whispers, before not so subtly pointing at the trio. Jiraiya and Naruto gave no indication that they were paying attention to that, but Haruto was getting a bit uncomfortable. Naruto never told him that he was this popular in his own village. Unknown to the redhead, Naruto was feeling uncomfortable as well, but he was doing a better job of hiding it. He loved his village, he really did, but he never liked it when attention was focused solely on him. Perhaps it was his ninja instincts, because it was difficult to blend in when everyone was focusing on you. He knew Jiraiya had no problem with it. Hell, the man actually lived for attention. That ridiculous kabuki dance of his was meant to divert all the attention to him. The man was the writer of the most famous porn series in the entire nations, which was why men like Kakashi almost worshipping him made sense. The shinobi, on the other hand, were giving him nods of respect, which he returned with a smile. No doubt they knew of his bingo book entry. Some were even rubbing their eyes like some civilians to make sure that whatever they were seeing was true. Naruto bit back a snicker upon seeing an old man collapse into his chair, clutching his chest. He leaned over to whisper to Jiraiya, "It's almost as if they can't believe it really is me." Jiraiya snorted. "Yeah, more like they might be seeing someone else instead of you." This time it was Haruto who snorted. Naruto gave his cousin a dirty look before sighing. "Let's hurry up. I want to see Tsunade and get his papers finalized." "Naruto?" A feminine voice, but not the one he wanted to hear, but he knew it by heart, made him turn around. His lips automatically widened into a smile when he saw the pink hair and green eyes. Her hair was still cut short by her shoulders. She wore a sleeveless version of the red top that she used to wear 3 years ago. Beneath that she wore black biker shorts underneath a gray apron skirt with knee-high shinobi sandals and elbow protectors. Physical appearance aside, Naruto could instantly tell that his friend hadn't wasted the last 3 years. It was just her body language that told him. "Finally, she looks like an actual kunoichi." His smile widened into a grin as he opened his arms for a hug. She was taken by surprise when she noticed that Naruto was a full head taller than her. She stepped back to take a good look at her teammate. It had been 3 years after all. Standing at 5 feet 10 inches, Sakura could instantly tell that Naruto was now the tallest member of the original Rookie 12, an inch above Shino, who was the next tallest member. Naruto had cut his bangs into a much more normal hairstyle. His frame had grown wider at the shoulders, and the V-cut of his body had become more pronounced. His muscles had gotten much more defined from the way how well his clothes fit him. He still wore the same Jonin uniform from 3 years back, with the exception of the color of his armbands. The azure eyes glowed with intelligence just like 3 years ago, but now they held a level of maturity beyond their age. Sakura faintly realized that Naruto was perhaps the most handsome person in the entire village. "You've really grown, haven't you?" she asked in a wry voice. "I'm not the only who has. I can tell you've been working hard for the past 3 years, Sakura," Naruto complimented back. It was only then Sakura noticed the redhead beside him, watching her interaction with Naruto with a small smile. She blushed faintly, partly because of not noticing him earlier and partly because of how handsome he was. He was a redhead, a shade of red that she thought was quite exotic, for she had never seen it before. He had an angular face with purple eyes, 2 spiky tails hanging in front of his shoulders. "Naruto, who's this?" The redhead stepped forward, extending a hand. "Uzumaki Haruto," he introduced himself. "A real pleasure to meet you, Sakura-san." He held her hand a bit longer than handshakes lasted, but she didn't notice that. She was gazing at his purple eyes so intensely that she almost missed his introduction. With a snap, she came back to her senses. "Wait, Uzumaki? I'm a distant cousin of Naruto from Uzushiogaku no Sato, home of the Uzumaki clan," he elaborated. Sakura slowly shook her head, having a hard time believing what she was seeing and hearing. Then again, this was Naruto. All kinds of weird things happened to him. She commented in a dry tone, "Only you, Naruto." Naruto understood what she was saying, and grinned. "Yeah, only me." She spotted Jiraiya of the Sannin, and watched with a light scowl as he tried to flirt with some women. Tsunade-sama had told her what he was like, and she could only hope Naruto hadn't picked up his bad habits. Quickly forming a bright smile, she asked in a cheerful voice. "So, are you going to the Hokage Tower?" Naruto nodded in affirmative. "Yeah, need to report our return and get his village citizenship finalized. Haruto's going to stay in Konoha from now on." He saw the cloth bag in her hand. "Buying vegetables?" Sakura lifted the bag. "Yeah, Tsunade-sama just gave me the day off, so I'm just doing some buying for the home." Naruto nodded with a smile. "Well, enjoy your day off." Haruto waved at her. "I'll see you later, Sakura-san." With that, they left, with Naruto dragging an indignant Jiraiya by the collar. Sakura smiled as she watched them walk away. She didn't know there were any Uzumaki left, but she was happy for her teammate that he found a surviving member of his close family. And she had to admit, but Naruto's cousin was just as good looking as Naruto, if not more. She continued smiling on the way home. She had a feeling that today would be a good day. Tsunade was taking a small break from paperwork, drinking sake from a small cup. A knock on the door interrupted her, and she reflexively spread out her senses. She paused drinking, purely out of shock because there was an obscenely large chakrasaurus, bigger than anything she had ever sensed, standing right outside the door. Readying herself in case it was an enemy, she called out, "Come in." The door opened, and she was thankful that she had put the cup down, otherwise it would have surely fallen out of her hand, shattering on the floor. A very familiar blonde greeted her with a grin and a wave. "Yo Hokage-sama. What's up?" Tsunade found herself grinning back as she got up and walked around her table to pull the Uzumaki into a hug, not even minding the way he addressed her. In the back of her mind she realized that Naruto was much taller than her now. "Oh, it's so good to see you, Naruto." Naruto struggled to keep from wincing, because damn, Tsunade was strong as hell, in spite of his enhanced durability. He hugged her back nonetheless. "It's good to see you too. And I'm back for real this time." Tsunade pulled back from the hug, smiling warmly. "I know. You and Minato could pass for twins at this stage." Naruto chuckled as he ran a hand through his locks. "I'm pretty sure I look better than him." They both chuckled at that, and then she noticed the redhead standing behind Naruto. "You must be Haruto then." Haruto bowed. "Uzumaki Haruto, Hokage-sama." Tsunade nodded, speaking with slight nostalgia in her voice. "The only Uzumaki I ever knew were Naruto's mother and my Basama. It has been a while since I saw a red-headed one, and I wasn't aware that there were any survivors from Uzushiobikure." Haruto nodded with pursed lips. "Naruto told me what happened to my village. While I'm sad that it happened, it's no use pondering over spilt milk." Tsunade nodded. "Right you are. However, you must understand that Naruto holds a lot of political power as the head of 2 clans, one of them being Uzumaki. If there is even one person claiming to be related to him by blood, I have to thoroughly make sure the claim is true." "I could give you my blood for a DNA test, I suppose," Haruto half offered, half suggested. "Or we can make this faster easier for all of us if you just show her your chains," Naruto counter-proposed. Tsunade sharply turned to face Naruto, a serious frown on her face. "Chains?" Naruto smirked and simply turned to his cousin in response, who brought out 4 blood-red chains from his back. Tsunade watched in awe as they floated around him, the sharp, arrow-like tips looking ready to pierce someone on Haruto's command. She had no doubt that they were identical to Kushina's chains in all but color. "You inherited the special chakra," she faintly murmured, still staring at the chains in utter fascination. Haruto pulled his chains back, looking satisfied. "Do I pass?" Tsunade smiled and nodded. "I acknowledge and accept your claim of being an Uzumaki. Naruto already arranged for a permanent residence for you here beforehand a few months ago." Haruto nodded. "I told him to do that." Tsunade extended her hand. "For anyone who wants permanent citizenship granted, they have to fill out a form by the gates. Did the guards give that to you?" In answer, Haruto took out the folded form from his pocket and handed it to her. Tsunade went back to her chain and sat down, reading it over. She nodded in approval and spoke. "I'll have your citizenship and residential papers prepared by tomorrow. You have the option of joining the Konoha Shinobi forces if you want to." Haruto nodded. "Hi." Tsunade tore a small slip of paper and wrote something on it, putting it inside the form. "I'll prepare an evaluation for you latest by day after tomorrow. Welcome to Konohagakure no Sato," she added with a smile. Naruto then stepped forward, a hopeful expression on his face. "Bachan is Temari." Tsunade smiled and nodded. "She's in the village right now. In fact, she..." It was at this moment that the door was knocked again. Naruto spread his senses and couldn't control the grin on his face when he instantly recognized the chakra signatures. "Come in." The door opened, and Naruto turned around to face the newcomers with his cheerful grin. Shikamura had grown just like he did, only he was a couple inches shorter than him. He dressed more like a chunin now, the vest coming to fit his larger frame. He was still skinny, but at least he no longer looked that he was gonna topple to sleep any second. It was the second person that caused his breath to get caught in his windpipe. She wore a black, sleeveless blouse with a collar that wrapped around her neck and a small window for her chest. The blouse stopped just below her significantly larger 3060, he mused, and was followed by a fishnet that stopped just before her belly button. Her shoulders were bare, and she wore long, dark blue sleeves that reached her mid-bicep, with a finger hole. She wore black A&BU pants with small slits on the sides of her thighs, with a holster strapped to her left thigh, and black shinobi sandals. Her hair was now worn in 2 ponytails instead of 4, and her face had lost some of the baby fat. Her signature war fan was nowhere to be seen, but Naruto did catch a storage seal on the cloth of both of her wrists. All this checking out took him less than a second, and his eyes rose up to meet his wife's, which were shining with happiness. Temari had grown so beautiful in the past 3 years that Naruto actually failed to bring any words to his mouth. Temari smiled upon seeing Naruto, her eyes catching his roaming her figure quickly before making eye contact with her. She was internally busting with joy, wanting nothing more to grab his collar and pull him into a steaming kiss. But there were people present, and she had much more dignity than that. She wanted to laugh when she saw her husband's mouth move, but no words coming out. She was very much pleased with his reaction, finding it rather out of nature for him to not have any words. Instead of laughing, she walked up to him and gave him a warm hug, whispering right into his ear. "Welcome back, Naruto." That snapped Naruto out of his daze, and he immediately wrapped her up in his arms, in a much tighter hug. Her breath left her in a huff, but she smiled wider and hugged him back equally tight. It felt good to be back in his arms again. Naruto then noticed something as he hugged her tight. "No bra?" Her eyes lit up at the whisper in her ears, and she whispered back. "Change of style." They stepped back from the hug, smiles never leaving their faces and eyes never leaving the others. Naruto noticed that she was about the same height as Tsunade. "Ugh, didn't I teach you not to be mushy about this stuff, Naruto?" The whine came from none other than Jiraiya, who was not even looking at them. "You're just jealous that you don't have a partner to be mushy with, Ero-sennin," Naruto easily returned, finally turning to face him. He finally turned to face his old friend, who was smirking at him. "Finally noticed me, have you?" Naruto smiled and drew him into a bear hug. "It's nice to see you too, Shika. It's even nicer to see that you don't look eternally lethargic anymore." "Oh, trust me, I just got very good at hiding that." They drew back, and Naruto turned to face his cousin, who was looking at them a bit awkwardly. "Shika, this is my cousin from the Uzumaki clan, Haruto. Haruto, this is one of my childhood friends, Nara Shikamaru." Haruto stepped forward with a smile to shake hands. "Pleasure to meet you, Shikamaru-san." "You too, Haruto-san. I hope we get along." Naruto then put an arm around Temari, and his smile turned warmer as he gave her a one-arm hug. "And this, Haruto, is my wife, Temari." Haruto gave a deep bow. "It is an honor to meet you, Temari-ne-san." "The honor's mine, Haruto. Now look up, family doesn't act so formal towards each other," Temari smiled, giving her cousin-in-law a quick hug. Haruto straightened up and smiled. Naruto had been right when he told him that his wife quite beautiful. Haruto himself thought that her looks were quite exotic, her sandy blonde hair and teal eyes. Naruto was not exaggerating when he said that you were beautiful, Ne-san. Temari turned to smile at her husband. "Is that right? Well, thank you, Naruto." Tsunade clapped her hands. "Well, now that the introductions are over with, let's get to business." She turned towards Shikamaru. "Do you have the documents?" Shikamaru just put a folder on the table, after which Tsunade dismissed him. Turning towards Naruto, who was conversing with Haruto and Temari, she addressed him. "Naruto, I want you in training ground 7 in 3 hours. I want to see how much you have improved." Naruto smirked cockily. "I thought my record speaks for itself." Tsunade turned a bit more serious. "While that is true, and I have seen your bingo book entry, I want to see it with my own eyes. You'll be fighting an opponent of my choosing." Naruto raised an eyebrow at that. He had a pretty good idea who she was going to choose, but spoke up regardless, pointing a thumb at Jiraiya. "I hope it's not him. I just kicked his ass yesterday, after all." Tsunade held back a gasp, and Temari wasn't looking any different either. "Why you beat Jiraiya?" She looked towards her former teammate for confirmation. Upon his proud expression and nod, she fell back in her seat. "To think he's become capable of defeating Jiraiya. I thought IWA just put his entry as SS rank because of Haration, but it seems that it might be true after all. Well, in any case, I want you to fight this evening. I want to see just what Jiraiya trained you in," she announced after some thought. Naruto shrugged. "Fine by me." "Good. Dismissed." Naruto then walked out with Temari and Haruto, happily conversing about how strong she had gotten. Once the door was closed, Tsunade turned to Jiraiya and asked, "Did he really beat you?" Jiraiya snorted. "Beat me? He destroyed me is more like it. Even Sage Mode didn't work against him." This time Tsunade really did gasp. "You used Sage Mode against him? And lost?" On his nod, Tsunade let out a slow breath. Kakashi doesn't stand a chance, does he? Jiraiya smirked and shook his head. Tsunade leaned forward and put her chin on her hands. Tell me everything. Wow, I thought wind users were pretty rare in High no Kuni, Naruto commented after hearing how Temari fights. They still are. I can count on one hand the number of wind users in Konoha and still have fingers left, Temari replied, holding hands with Naruto and walking towards their home. So what did you train in these 3 years, Temari? Temari smiled. I actually finished my training in 2 years. And I trained in Tessenjutsu. But didn't you already use a large war fan, Nei-san? She must mean folding fans, Naruto said after a second of deliberation. Maybe you can fight me as a warm-up for your evening fight? Temari suggested. We'll see. We have a lot of catching up to do, Naruto suggested coyly. Well, we'll have to be more careful now that we have your brother living with us, she lightly admonished him as they arrived at their house. Naruto gave her a confused look. Tsunade didn't tell you? Temari narrowed her eyes. Tell me what? Naruto decided to speak for his cousin. Well, I'm actually going to live separate from you, in a different home. Naruto didn't flinch when Temari directed her gaze towards him, silently asking why. Naruto continued, this was actually my suggestion, Nei-san. I didn't want to intrude upon your hospitality. It's no big deal. We can work something out. And your privacy as a couple, Naruto finished with a knowing look. I see, Temari slowly said, crossing her arms under her bust. And here I was going to question you about how useful would a private, backdoor hot spring be when Naruto would live with us, Temari revealed, raising an eyebrow at her sheepish-looking husband. I'd rather call it a jacuzzi, since you can't just build a hot spring. It was actually Naruto who pointed that out to me, Naruto said, scratching his cheek bashfully. But he only pointed that out when Tsunade informed me that it was finished. He was the one who convinced me that he would find a separate place for himself. That was the reason why I contacted Tsunade to find a place for him near our home. Why would you even build one? Naruto looked a bit disappointed. You don't like it? Temari quickly reassured him. No, honey, I didn't mean it like that. I loved it, but why did you build it? For one, I missed 3 of your birthdays, so I thought the gift should be good enough to account for all 3. 2, because I simply can. Cammy knows how much money we have and I have little idea what to do with it all. 3, I love you, which should be reason enough, Naruto recounted his reasons, giving a quick kiss to Temari in the end. Temari smiled against his lips, but pulled back before it could get heated. Well, it was a very thoughtful gift, I see. Naruto turned to face Naruto, who was looking a bit uncomfortable. He made an apologetic expression. Sorry, that must have been awkward for you. Naruto waved a hand. It's all right. It only proves that a separate residence was a good idea. Temari turned to Naruto. I'll take your scroll inside, while you show him his house, she offered. Or you can come with us, Naruto said, a shadow clone popping up beside him. It took the scroll and vanished. Naruto waved a hand down the lane to the right of their house. Naruto's residence was a modest 1 BHK apartment half a mile away from their house. After helping him settle into it, they bid their goodbyes and returned to their house. All right, I've got 2 hours, Naruto said as they went to their backyard's open space. He and Temari faced against each other, a challenging grin on their faces. Show me what you got. With pleasure. Without wasting any moment, Temari rushed into Naruto's guard, not giving him any time to prepare. Naruto's reflexes were perfectly on point, ducking right beneath the jump spinning round kick that would have taken his head off. Naruto straightened up, only to lean back when the other foot rushed at his face in the momentum of the same spin. Not bad at all, Naruto praised, blocking a punch and countering with his own. Temari smirked as she dodged it with a backflip, attempting to kick Naruto's chin with the flip. Naruto avoided that and rushed into her guard, hoping to throw a punch into her gut. He was pleasantly surprised when instead of landing on her feet, like he expected her to, she flipped once more and landed perfectly on her hands and upper back. Naruto formed a cross guard with his hands when Temari attempted to kick up into his chest. The force of the double kick was enough to make him stumble back a step. He smiled in approval. That was impressive, Temari. You read my movements. Temari smirked as she went back into her stance. How about we stop playing around now? Naruto smirked. Let's kick it up just a notch. Match goes to the one who lands the first clean hit. With that, he settled into his stance. He noted that Temari's legs were spread wide, but not too wide, which meant that most of her attacks would be hand-based. Most probably, it would be lightning-fast punches or elbow attacks, with some knees thrown in. Leg attacks could be limited to straight kicks, mostly to break guard or create an opening for the hands. Simultaneously, they both vanished so fast that it was a blur. Their forearms crashed, and the crash pushed both of them back. Just as Naruto expected, Temari's taijutsu focused mostly on the hands. They were very quick, he had to give that to her. Just as he caught her wrist to prevent the punch from connecting to his face, her leg came up to slam into his stomach. Naruto jumped back, but rebounded with a spinning hook kick. The seal enhancements worked in his favor, as Temari was barely able to avoid the kick to her face. She jumped up, attempting a triple kick combo which Naruto blocked. What's more impressive is that she has yet to break her momentum in the fight, he observed as she used the momentum of the spin to land a punch to his face. That was the opening he needed. Using his right hand to deflect the punch, he bent low and slammed an elbow to her gut, making sure to hold back his strength. Due to the hit being directly below the sternum, it hurt quite a lot. Temari stumbled back, a hand on where the hit had landed. Naruto rushed to her, landed a side kick/back kick combo that sent her to the ground. That was really good, Temari. Naruto grinned as he walked up to her, leaning down. Temari's hand was glowing green as she used Iryo ninjutsu to lessen the pain. There was hardly an opening in your form. But there was, wasn't it? Temari grunted as she clasped Naruto's hand to get up. She yelped, however, when Naruto pulled her directly into a kiss. There was no other word for it. Naruto ravished her mouth as his tongue entered it without giving her a chance to fight back. It was like a hungry animal eating for the first time in days, or in this case, years. Temari had missed the taste of his mouth just as much as he had missed hers. Her hands came around his neck as they both pulled each other closer. Naruto relished the feel of her waist, since there was nothing to cover it. His right hand moved back and forth, softly massaging her waist. His thumb pressed against her taut stomach, feeling her abs. He smiled against her mouth as he disengaged the kiss, leaning his forehead against hers. He started landing small, quick kisses against her, talking between them. Sorry, I missed that. It's okay, I did too. The kisses did not stop until 5 minutes later, and even that happened reluctantly. They both stepped back, smirks on their faces. We will continue this tonight, Naruto stated, as if it were final. Temari smirked, I look forward to it. I always knew you couldn't resist me. Same goes for you too, dear. In a flash, she brushed her hand on the storage seal on her right wrist. In a small burst of smoke, 2 blades appeared in her hands. Only upon a closer look, Naruto realized what they were. Grinning, he nodded to her. Nice steel fans. Temari smirked, saying nothing. She folded open the fans, and Naruto had to admit, they were beautiful. A combination of black and teal, they really suited to the color of her eyes. They opened like a lotus, but only half. The shape of the dagger made up the longer blade, while there were small, kunai-like blades in the middle. Very deadly. Is it safe to assume that you use them for both close quarters and futon ninjutsu? Naruto asked her, gesturing to her fans. Your intellect frightens me sometimes. Without another word, Naruto whipped out 2 of his special kunai in his hands, one in reverse grip. They stood across each other, not making a single move, no doubt studying each other. Temari knew how skilled her husband was in a knife fight, but there were little openings in the way of the fan. Her teacher taught her how to fight not just one, but multiple opponents, close range and far. But fighting Naruto might as well mean fighting multiple opponents at once. Naruto knew that he was venturing into the unknown. If Temari was any good with those, he would have a hard time against her. Due to the large surface area of the fans, most of the attacks would be slices. But thinking back on how quickly those fans had unfolded from their knife forms, she could fold them back into knives just as quickly. Naruto smirked, which was the only warning Temari got. Before she knew, she was turning around on pure instinct and reflex, blocking the stab with her fan. A brief flicker of surprise passed in his eyes upon seeing her block his strike, but the smirk remained. Nice reflexes. In answer, Temari brought the other fan up in a slice to his head. Naruto ducked, swiping her legs from under her. Temari jumped over his legs, countering it with a combined swipe from both of her fans with the front flip. The result of that was it sent both of them flying in the opposite direction. Temari didn't waste any time upon landing. As soon as her foot touched the ground, she swiped her right fan hard to the right. A large gust of wind, powerful enough to be visible, rushed towards Naruto. Naruto simply charged his legs with chakra and jumped high, letting the gust pass from beneath him. He threw his kunai at her, which she let pass by her head. She then turned around, expecting him to flash right behind her. That cost her the fight. Don't be so quick to jump to conclusions, his voice came from behind her, a kunai point resting on her neck. Temari's voice was puzzled. How did you? Well, I knew that you were aware of how I used Haration, so I expected you to react the way you did, turning to defend your back. Only I decided to stir away from that line this time, Naruto explained, taking a step back. Temari smiled, retaking her stance. Nice strategy. Let's see if it works a second time. Naruto internally was very proud of Temari. He always admired her never-say-die attitude, and it suited her personality very well. Taking out another kunai, he retook his stance. I don't know about that, he said in a thoughtful tone, completely contrasting with the smirk on his face. Maybe I'll flash behind, or should it be the front? As if you'll even get the chance, Temari muttered, before launching into offense. The next 5 minutes Naruto saw what exactly Temari was capable of now. Her strikes with open fans were very deadly, easily capable of landing fatal cuts, or even cutting someone's head off. Her form seemed impeccable, not stumbling between attacks at all. Most of Naruto's attention was on dodging or deflecting Temari's strikes, for she was seamlessly able to switch between folding and unfolding her fans. Whenever he attempted a strike, she would either deflect or block it with her fan, or catch it with the small, knife-like window in her fan and follow it up with a taijutsu attack. Nice to see that I'm not the only one who's made improvements in leaps and bounds. She is easily mid to high jonin at this point, Naruto thought as he leaned back from a strike, flipping sideways to avoid a jump spinning side kick. He threw his kunai right at her, knowing he would have to create his own opening. Temari folded her fan swiftly to knock away the incoming kunai, as was her reflex, when Naruto disappeared from in front of her. She didn't even finish her curse when a foot connected to the back of her head, knocking her to the side. She got up swiftly, but Naruto was already moving. He backflipped, landing right on her shoulders. He then backflipped again, this time with her. Temari grunted as she was slammed on the ground, hard. She knew she had lost when there was a kunai resting on her throat. I have to say, that was damn impressive, Temari, came Naruto's pleased voice from behind her. Temari just grumbled as he pulled her up. How come I didn't see that coming? Come on, Temari, that was awesome. There were hardly any openings in your form for me to exploit, Naruto tried to cheer her up. Temari didn't feel any satisfied with Naruto's cheer, walking towards their house with a huff, folding her fans and putting them in her storage seal. Naruto internally chuckled. Temari was a sore loser. The next time, you won't make the same mistake. Think of it this way, I just helped you improve a little, he offered. Temari sighed. I'm not upset at you, Naruto. It's just that I've trained my ass off in those 2 years. I can see that. It's a really nice ass. And even then you didn't have much trouble in taking me down, Temari finished, turning to face him with an unreadable expression. You were simply testing me, weren't you? Naruto twirled his kunai. Well, I did want to see how you improved, didn't I? Besides, I did improve as well. I wasn't going to just sit around. Temari didn't seem very convinced with his reasoning, but accepted it with a small smile. Well, you did beat Jiraiya-sama after all, so I shouldn't be surprised too much. Now that is over, his voice suddenly whispered in her ear, how about we have some fun? Temari jumped in surprise. Just how fast had he become? Before she could reply, Naruto was already placing small kisses on the side of her face. His hands were roaming her front, rubbing her stomach. She sighed in pleasure, leaning back into him. I thought you wanted to do this tonight, she breathed. It was hard for him to pause. 3 years going without sex, and now it was coming back to bite him. Temari's scent was driving him crazy, and he wanted nothing more than to pick her up and lock themselves in the bedroom. His waterfall training was the only reason he could restrain himself at this moment. Oh, we will, trust me. I'm going to enjoy every bit of you when we're alone tonight. But I didn't say anything about not making out, he growled before turning her around and picking her up, her legs wrapping around him. He walked inside, with Temari giggling at his impatience. Naruto arrived on the ground exactly on 4 p.m., with Temari in tow. So just because the asshole tried to hit on you, you almost cut off his dick? Naruto asked incredulously. Temari scoffed, rising to her feet. Honestly, he should have known not to mess with me when I killed all those bandits single-handedly, without a problem. Naruto whistled. That's harsh. Pity we can't wear our rings in the field. Temari nodded, completely agreeing with him. A pity indeed. Why weren't you with the team again? Temari shrugged. I discovered that I like working alone. Which is why I refused it when Tsunade offered me a team to lead. As a jonin working alone, I'm much more efficient. But being in a team has its advantages, and you know that. I do, but working alone is so much better for me. Naruto shrugged, not wanting to argue with her anymore. Jonin had the choice of either working alone, or with a team. If Temari preferred to work alone, he wasn't going to stop her. And with how formidable she had become, he would have to worry less about her. It wasn't as if there was a bounty on her head, after all. Expanding his senses, he sensed Jiraiya, Shizen and Tsunade in the trees. No doubt they were here to watch the fight. He lowered the gravity on his person to 3 times that of Earth, feeling significantly lighter. Temari, why don't you join our audience in the trees? Better view from there. Sure, why not? Just give me a good show. With that, she jumped away. He sensed Sakura coming to the ground, and he turned around. She walked up to him with a smile, tightening some gloves on her hands. Tsunade-sama called you as well, Naruto? Yeah, apparently she wants to test both of us. I can see who the conductor of the test is going to be. Just as he finished his sentence, a burst of smoke appeared right next to him. Naruto was shaking his head as the figure emerged from the smoke that cleared away. I saw that coming from a mile away. Considering that you can't physically see that far, I find that to be impossible. Kakashi, you are the strongest Jonin in this village. Why won't Tsunade send you? Kakashi gave a nice smile. Good point, though I don't know about the part of strongest Jonin anymore, now that you're here. You've gotten quite tall by the way, Naruto. And you're still as perverted as ever, Naruto shot back. Come on Kakashi-sensei, Naruto couldn't possibly be better than you, Sakura argued, but then she caught Naruto's smirk. Could he? I suppose all will be proven shortly, Naruto said in a breezy way. Sakura still looked doubtful, but didn't say anything. Naruto remembered something, his hand going to his hip pouch and pulling something out. Oh, before we start, have this. Kakashi's eyes looked at the cover, and went wide with disbelief. No way. Is it Okami? It is. Pocketing the other book, Kakashi greedily opened the newest edition of Ika Ika. The first one in 3 years. Oh, the smell of a new book. Naruto was a little disturbed by Kakashi's enthusiasm, but didn't show it. Everyone had their ways of getting off, and was Kakashi's eyes shining with withheld tears? Thank you Naruto, this is the best gift anyone has ever given me. Naruto waved the thanks away. Don't mention it. Sakura, on the other hand, was suspiciously looking at Naruto. And why were you in the possession of that book, Naruto? Naruto held up his hands. Don't look at me like that, Ero-sennin gave it to me. In the forest, Temari whacked Jiraiya across the back of his head, much to Tsunade's approval. And you didn't read it? Alright, that's enough Sakura, Kakashi stopped her there. Once Sakura seemed calmed down, he spoke. Alright. Godame-sama called me earlier, informing me that I was to test you too. Probably because she is interested in reforming Team 7, without Sasuke this time. Kakashi carefully watched his 2 former students for any reaction. Naruto simply narrowed his eyes a little, but nothing else. It was Sakura that surprised him. He expected her to slump into depression, or show some sign of sadness, but there wasn't any. Instead, her eyes told him something else. Something unexpected. Sakura no longer felt anything for Sasuke. Looks like Tsunade-sama did a really thorough job of beating the fangirl out of her, he observed mentally. He had imagined that Godame would be a tough teacher, but to stomp Sakura's infatuation for Sasuke out of her? She must be damn vicious. I still can't imagine how the bastard escaped from this village, Naruto muttered, looking towards the sky. Kakashi sighed. He was taken when he was being transferred to Hozuki Castle for his prison sentence. Short version is, the Konoha ninja were ambushed by an unknown party while on the way to the prison. No one was killed, but Sasuke was taken from right under their noses. Why would you even transfer him? Because it's the best criminal containment facility in the world? That place has a record of 0 prisoner escapes, and to be honest, that's a very good incentive to keep a prisoner there. From what I heard, the Shinobi Council was in favor of it. Naruto pursed his lips. Better than our ANBU here? The prison in our village is not much of a prison than it is a holding facility. Plus, ANBU is susceptible to attacks and break-ins, as you have so repeatedly proved when you were younger, Naruto, Kakashi reminded him. Naruto scoffed lightly at that, but didn't deny the claim. Please tell me at least you know who took him away. Kakashi sighed, looking unsure of his answer. There is no official evidence as to who might have taken him, but we know of one person who had shown a disturbing amount of interest in him. Orochimaru. Kakashi shrugged. That's what many suspect. But as I said, we don't have any proof. Anyway, back to the test. At first, it was going to be you two against me, but there has been a change of plans by Tsunade-sama. Sakura looked confused by his words. Why would she change it? Kakashi put his book away, implying that he was serious. I don't know the exact reason, but I'm not going to speculate. The test is actually quite simple, he said, pulling out not 2, but 3 bells. 3 bells, Kakashi-sensei? Patience, Sakura. Yes, it will be 3 bells this time, with 2 for you both, and 1 for me, he explained, giving the bells to Naruto and Sakura. The test is essentially a battle royal, with every man for himself. The last ninja to remain standing with all 3 bells in his possession wins. Sakura looked like she didn't know what to make of the test, but Naruto had a smirk on his face. Clearly he was excited. That's actually rather unconventional of her, but I'm not complaining. He walked towards Kakashi and held out a hand. Give me your wrist. I'll remove my mark to make this as fair as possible for you. Kakashi snorted. So nice of you, he commented sarcastically, but gave him his wrist. Naruto put his hand on the mark and removed it, revealing unblemished skin. He then turned around and walked away, putting a bit of distance between them, around 40 meters. He put the bell in one of his vest pockets and then faced both of them, waving a hand. Whenever you're ready, Kakashi. Sakura, too, put some distance between her teammate and sensei, tying the bell to her hip. She tightened her gloves one last time and gave a challenging smile to Kakashi. On your go, sensei. Kakashi chuckled, reaching for his hitai. Even I'm a bit excited about this. But I have a feeling that I shouldn't hold back too much this time, he said, exposing the Sharingan. That I won't save you this time, Kakashi, Naruto thought as he put his hands in his pockets. It was then that the atmosphere in the field changed. Kakashi and Sakura simultaneously tensed, eyes darting towards Naruto, who was intensely staring at the two. His posture was still relaxed, but something about him had clearly changed, something that screamed dangerous. A bead of sweat rolled down Sakura's cheek. Her fists tightened as she gazed at Naruto's relaxed form. What is this feeling? Why does Naruto seem so dangerous all of a sudden? Whenever he looks at me, I feel like he could crush me in an instant. Why? Just how much have you improved, Naruto? Kakashi was much more practical in his analysis, despite being tense. To intimidate by using one's aura is an extremely difficult skill. I'm not surprised Naruto managed to learn it from Jiraiya-sama. A very effective psychological attack if one has a reputation deadly enough. Kakashi had been informed by Tsunade that Naruto had beaten Jiraiya at his best. Kakashi knew then and there that Naruto was way out of his league. If there was a shinobi that could beat the strongest of the Sannin, he was among the most dangerous in the world. I think we all know that this fight isn't in each person for himself anymore, is it? Naruto questioned in a nonchalant tone. It went unsaid, but Naruto was right. Naruto's sudden change of presence put all of them on edge, even the audience. Even though it was a test, it felt more like a battle for survival. Humans were afraid of those who were stronger than them. Kakashi and Sakura instinctively knew that in order for either of them to win this fight, they would have to knock off the strongest piece off the board. They both knew from their gut instinct that they couldn't beat Naruto on his own. It was pure instinct that their bodies angled slightly more towards Naruto than each other. They both flinched, Sakura more heavily than Kakashi, when Naruto suddenly erupted in smoke. They were instantly looking around, trying to find Naruto, but their eyes returned to the smoke that was rapidly clearing. When it cleared, they were looking at 2 Narutos. Damn it, now there's no way to tell which one's the real one, Sakura cursed mentally. She still wasn't going to make the first move. She just couldn't. She knew Naruto would only have gotten faster in the past 3 years. She couldn't match his reflexes then, she couldn't do it now. It was as simple as that. In her observation of Naruto, she forgot about Kakashi. Kakashi was keeping a close eye on both of his pupils. With Naruto having cloned himself in dense smoke, he was unable to tell which one was the real one. He knew if he attacked Naruto, he would no doubt be countered. He had no idea what Naruto was capable of now, and he was unwilling to risk himself in order to find out. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Sakura turn a bit more towards Naruto, her expression becoming a bit conflicted. Even if we were about to team up against Naruto, this is still a battle royal. With that in mind, he changed targets. Kakashi was trained by the fastest man of all time, Namikaze Minato. So it stood to reason that he was no slack in terms of speed. In Anbu, he was among the fastest, his only competition being Shursui and Itachi. Even now, there were few who could match his speed. With that in mind, he moved. Naruto was carefully watching his opponents. Sakura was concentrating purely on him, but Kakashi was still keeping her in his view. He knew that neither of them were foolish enough to attack him straight on, but only Kakashi was smart enough to account for Sakura along with him as well. If he couldn't attack Naruto, he would focus on the next one. To be honest, it really wasn't Sakura's fault to focus her entire attention on him. If he had one of the Hokage for an opponent, he would do the same. He had his own agenda, and that was to see how strong Kakashi really was. He was his father's best student, so he would no doubt be quite good. Seeing how far Sakura had come was just a bonus. His danger sense had been activated as soon as they entered the standoff. His perception was heightened, allowing him to see things in relative slow motion. He moved in the next instant that Kakashi did, and he had chosen his target. Kakashi had moved in Sakura's direction, hoping to catch her off guard and chop her neck, putting her out of the fight. His Sharingan allowed him to see her reaction, but unfortunately for her, she was still slower than him. His eye widened, however, when Naruto suddenly appeared in front of him, wrapping his arm around her stomach. It was his flash step, and he was still faster than Kakashi. Kakashi's chop hit nothing but air as Naruto vanished again in his flash step. Inside, he marveled at how fast Naruto had become. The speed at which he had rushed Sakura was close to his top speed, and Naruto had just casually outsped him. He landed on his feet and instantly turned towards where Naruto was still standing. It could be possible that this one is the real one, seeing as he probably wouldn't send a shadow clone against an opponent that could easily punch it out of existence. But it's purely speculation at this point, he theorized. I'm surprised that you saved her. I was about to spare you the trouble of taking her out, he pointed out. Naruto smiled, taking his hands out of his pockets. I have my own reason for saving her. But for now, he pointed at Kakashi, you are going to show me just how good you really are. No holding back. I fear that holding back against you really isn't an option, Naruto, he muttered, readying himself. Sakura blinked as she came to her senses. 1 second, she was standing in front of Naruto and Kakashi. She had caught a flicker of movement from Kakashi's side and was about to react, when she found herself being grabbed and brought here. She immediately fell into her fighting stance, facing the blonde in front of her. Kakashi-sensei attacked me, didn't he? I'm surprised you could tell. I thought we were rather fast, Naruto commented, walking to the side. Sakura kept her eyes on him the entire time. She smiled wryly. I might be slow compared to you speed freaks, but I'm not that slow. I was just unable to react to him in time. Naruto circled Sakura like he was a predator, and she was the prey. So are you the clone, or the real deal? Naruto smiled in the way that gave the impression I know something you don't, and replied. Why don't you find out for yourself? Sakura smiled challengingly at this. Don't mind if I do. With that, she yelled and punched the ground, her fist sinking into the earth. Only, sink wasn't quite the word for it. Naruto flipped far back, onto the branch of a tree. He found himself restraining a shit-eating grin, because Sakura just rearranged a good portion of the earth around them. Large chunks of rocks flew up into the air, with a gigantic crack and boom. Even a few trees were completely uprooted from their place. So Tsunade taught you the secret to her super strength. Consider me impressed, he complimented, clapping in praise. Sakura grinned. This was the first time she felt that she was worthy of Naruto's compliment. I've got a lot more. Naruto grinned. Show me then. He appeared behind her in a flash step, kicking her away. Sakura rolled midair so that her feet met the bark of a tree instead of her front. She pushed herself off back towards him, a punch ready. Naruto simply moved out of the way, allowing her to roll on the ground and then come back to him. After that, they engaged in taijutsu, with Naruto simply dodging all the punches she threw at him. His expression went from smiling to disappointed fast, once he saw that she was just punching him. That strength of yours is useless if you don't have the speed to back it up, he chided her, dodging her hits as if he had all the time in the world. Sakura grit her teeth as she increased her efforts. He was mocking her. Don't let your temper get the best of you, Naruto said as he saw her frustration increasing. To prove his point, he deflected one of her strikes and landed an elbow right in her gut. All breath left her in just a second as she folded in on herself, hand going to clutch her stomach. Naruto followed his elbow up with a jump, a knee to her chin. Her head snapped back as she stumbled back, ultimately falling to the ground. Sakura groaned in pain as Naruto stood above her, looking at her with a frown. Don't tell me that's all you have. Tsunade taught you how to dish it out, but not take it. Sakura grit her teeth as she fought through the pain. Naruto's hits were a lot harder than she expected. He reacted so fast that she didn't have any time to brace herself. She eventually pushed herself onto her feet, still clutching her stomach. Her jaw was still rattled from the knee to her chin. "I'm not done yet," she managed to get out. Not far away from their spot, Tsunade watched with a frown as she saw how easily Naruto put Sakura down. If Naruto were an enemy, he could have ended the fight right when Sakura fell down. Instead, he allowed her to pick herself up, just so he could see what else she had to offer. "Nice job teaching Sakura your super strength, Tsunade." Tsunade smiled a little at the compliment. "Thanks, but it's clear that she isn't ready for an opponent of Naruto's caliber, isn't it?" Jiraiya put a hand on her shoulder. "Naruto is in a different league than her, Tsunade. To compare her to him would be unfair to her." Temari watched with pride at how easily her husband handled Sakura. For the past year, a lot of talk was going on about how Sakura was the strongest chunin. Naruto didn't even look like he was putting effort. Haruto, who had arrived at some time before the fight started, winced when he saw Naruto driving his elbow into Sakura's gut. Ever since he saw Sakura, he had instantly developed a crush on her. Which was why it hurt him a bit to see her getting destroyed by Naruto. His hits always hurt. Back to the fight, Sakura had managed to get up, healing some of the damage caused to her. Naruto was still looking at her without any expression on his face. "What will you do now?" Sakura narrowed her eyes. It was clear that Naruto was way out of her league. If she had managed to climb the mountain of improvement, Naruto had just shot up to the clouds. There seemed to be a whole world of difference between them. Naruto spoke again, walking around her once more. "Well, you proved your physical strength, Sakura. But what about your mental strength?" "What do you mean?" Naruto grinned. "You see, I developed the ultimate arrow ninjutsu while I was on my trip. I observed that some perverts are able to resist my Oiroku no Jutsu, so I sought to create a variation that was much better than that. I even developed a variation that could weed out women perverts. Would you like to see it?" Sakura was steadily getting angry as her feminine fury kicked in. She should have known that Naruto wouldn't have been completely spared from Jiraiya-sama's perverseness. As was her reaction to any pervert she spotted, she cocked back her fist and charged towards him, intent on knocking a tooth out. "Naruto!" Naruto kept grinning as she charged towards him. Just as her punch reached his face, he just tilted towards his left. Grabbing her punching hand, he twisted it to behind her back and used his leg to kick out her feet from under her. In the span of a moment, Sakura was slammed on the ground painfully on her face, with her hand twisted behind her back in a tight grip. "Ma, your temper tantrums have actually gotten worse," Naruto commented in a light tone. When she twisted her head to look at him, she froze. There was not a speck of the grin from earlier. His face was stone cold. It was a ploy to lure her in. "Why such a violent reaction, Sakura? Was it something I said?" Naruto twisted her arm a bit more, causing her to wince. "I hate perverts, and you know that." He leaned down to whisper in her ear. "So your reaction is to punch them? Did it never occur to you that you might seriously injure them with your strength?" Sakura's eyes went wide at that. "I would never do that." "Don't kid yourself. 3 years of rigorous training have brought you to the point where you don't need to concentrate on augmenting your punches anymore. You do it unconsciously," Naruto shot back. Sakura was starting to panic a little. "What's your point, Naruto?" "My point is, you need to start acting like a shinobi. You are a damn chunin, yet you throw childish temper tantrums and punch someone because you don't like something about them," Naruto snarled. Sakura snarled back at this, attempting to get out of Naruto's hold. "So I have a temper, big deal. Everyone does, Naruto." "Not everyone's temper is augmented by super strength punches that can knock someone's head off," he shot back. "You need to learn to control your emotions, instead of your emotions controlling you. There's a time and place for you to vent your anger, and the field is not it." Sakura had no counter for that. Naruto continued in a softer voice, but didn't let up his grip. "Trust me, if you can master your emotions, you will go far. But you will be held back by them if you allow them to dictate your actions." Sakura stopped struggling at that. She never really thought that her problem was this bad. In fact, she never really thought it as a problem before because no one pointed it out to her. The behavior of punching perverts in her righteous anger was only reinforced by Tsunade, Naruto deduced. That woman has no emotional control whatsoever. Sakura was clearly conflicted in her views by now. "What do you propose I should do?" Naruto smiled slightly. At least she was willing to change her ways. "The next time you see something perverse, politely tell them not to do so in your presence. If they don't listen, leave." If they don't let you leave, then kick the crap out of them, Naruto sagely advised. Sakura snorted, having stopped struggling beneath him. It'll be difficult. If it were easy, Tsunade would do it. Naruto released her from his hold, pulling her up. He grinned at her, putting a hand on her shoulder. In time, it will be second nature to you. Emotional control will be one thing you will have surpassed your master in. Sakura laughed at that. When you put it that way, it sort of makes sense. Naruto nodded. Right. Well, I'll take your leave then. Still gotta fight Kakashi. Come as soon as you can. Sakura blinked at the sudden change of pace. But the bell? She checked her hip, and lo, the bell wasn't there. He must have taken it when I was down, she realized. She smiled as she looked up, seeing no one. Just when I thought that I might have closed some of the gap between us, you drift further apart. Can I ever close the gap between us, Naruto? Her expression was wistful as she gazed up to the sky, which was beginning to darken. An explosion caused her to turn around, seeing smoke in the distance. A determined expression set across her face, and she took to the trees. I will improve, Naruto. Just you watch. The fight on Kakashi's end wasn't going too well, to be honest. As soon as one of the Narutos had taken off with Sakura, the remaining one had engaged Kakashi by firing off a jutsu. The power behind the futon jutsu was a sight to behold. It was a near hurricane-level gust of wind covering a large area. Kakashi had substituted with a broken branch to avoid being hit head-on, but was hit anyways when the wind continued on into the forest. Trees swayed dangerously, threatening to fall, but thankfully held. Kakashi took cover behind a particularly large tree, hid himself as best he could and re-evaluated Naruto's threat level.